One of them I actually predicted this morning. I was on Birds 365 with John McMullen, and one of them I nailed, which is the Washington game. Game 2 of the Washington series will be in Week 18. So they'll play the Commanders in Week 16 and then play them again in the final week of the season. You get that 2 NFC East games. So there's an interesting quirk in the Eagles' schedule. You ready for this, Josh? You got Eagles, Commanders, Week 16 and Week 18. You got Eagles, Giants also within 3 weeks. They're playing each other twice in a 3-week span. I think it's Week 6 and Week 8. And one of the Eagles-Giants games is reportedly a Thursday night football game. So you got Eagles-Giants on a Thursday night, and then again an Eagle-Giant game. Now the full schedule comes out tonight. We also have some big news on the Eagles' schedule. We know they are opening the schedule, the season, on a Thursday night against the Cowboys. Do you know who they are playing in week number 2? The Kansas City Chiefs. The Super Bowl rematch is in week 2. No anticipation. Let's see how these two teams are kind of rebounding post-Super Bowl. Nope. They're coming with a right hook and giving you bang over the top. Eagles-Chiefs in week number 2. And I think that is all we have up to this point right now. Have you seen any other leakages out there? You got anything else that has been released to the public? I haven't seen anything in the last 15 minutes. Let me double check. I got Cowboys in week 1. I got Chiefs in week 2. I got Giants in week 6. I've got another Giant game. Now, according to reports, this has not been leaked on the Eagles schedule. The entire Giants schedule has been released, the full 17 weeks. And on that schedule, the Giants are playing the Eagles twice within a 3-week span. We have a Green Bay game on a Monday night. We've got a Bears game on a Friday. We got a Commanders game on a Saturday. And then the last week of the year, week 18, we've got Eagles-Commanders. That one could be obviously for all the marbles for the NFC East. But the 2 Giant games are already out of the way by the time the schedule even gets going there. So, man, I got so many thoughts on this because of the fact you get the 2 division games. You know, it's funny because I was on Birds 365 this morning, and we were talking about this. And the one thing that I mentioned was, you know, McMullen was saying that playing the Commanders in week 16, that could be for the division. I said, well, they could play them in week 18. You know, there's a lot of times where you see that weird quirk where you play a team, then you play a different team, then you go back to playing that team. And that's exactly what had happened. And now it looks like the Giant thing is the same situation. So where is that second Cowboy game? Because you could be done. You could be done with your entire NFC East schedule other than the Commander games. You know, you got Dallas in week 1, you got the Giants in week 6, and you got the Giants in week 8 as well. So the Eagles play the Giants in week 6 and in week 8. You have the 2 Commanders games at the end. So where's that other Cowboy game going to fall? That will be interesting. So anybody else have any other leaks out there? Anybody else see any leaks?
Legitimate leaks, by the way. Not,
Why, are you seeing Fugazi ones?
Oh, I see Fugazi ones every year. I mean, that's why you got to double
check.
Yeah,
well, which ones I'm saying? I'm not seeing like any Fugazi ones.
I see Fugazi ones all the time. I don't count them as leaks. I just count them as people being duped.
Well, I mean, if there's a legitimate one out there, let us know. They're the ones that I see. I see the Eagles Commanders being reported.
Do you have a prediction or a guess of what you think that Cowboys game is going to be? The second one. Because remember, the second one will be in Dallas.
Well, it's not going to be week 17, I don't think. You got Washington, Dallas, Washington. That would be a little wonky.
I'm thinking you might get Dallas a little earlier than that. Like maybe like early
Well, you got
November.
Dallas. You got they have Thanksgiving. Keep that in mind.
Right.
So it's not going to be – I wouldn't think it's anywhere near there because you got the Eagles play on Black Friday.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. So maybe it is – I'm trying to see whether they're going to have a bye too. When's the bye week? Because last year
gonna be interesting.
was an anomaly that they had a bye in week 5 and won the Super Bowl. I was reading something the other day that generally is like that was one of the earliest bye weeks that a team has had. So far, that is what is known. Dallas in week 1, Kansas City in week 2, Giants in week 6, Giants in week 8, Green Bay in week 10, Bears on a Friday in week 13. That game's at home, by the way.
Correct.
Is anybody interested in going to the Black Friday Eagle home game? Is that a game that you want to go to?
That's a very interesting one because I think today's world, people do a lot of their shopping online, so they don't really need to go to the store. It's not
Somehow yesterday we went in a rabbit hole. A buddy of mine and I went in a rabbit hole. I don't even know how it came up. But is Black Friday a holiday?
No.
No, right?
No. It just happens to be the day after Thanksgiving that people buy stuff.
Right, exactly. Just because your wife likes to go shopping doesn't make it a holiday. I mean, just because she gets an extra sale price doesn't make it a holiday. I get the fact that a lot of places are kind enough to give their employees the day off, and those places should get credit for it. But it's not a fait accompli that you're off. It's not a federal holiday.
No, it's not a federal holiday. And by the way, with all these sales online now, you don't even need to go anywhere.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking. Like I asked the guy, so is Cyber Monday also a holiday now?
No.
Of course not. Well, Black Friday's not a holiday. I get it. It's the day after Thanksgiving. So a lot of places are lazy. They don't want to open up, and they just say take off the weekend.
Gotcha.
But, like, for instance, a lot of people have off on Thanksgiving. And if they want to take off the next day, they have to actually put in the vacation day.
Correct.
I have to.
Yeah.
I haven't worked on Black Friday in years, but I put in for the vacation day.
Yeah.
Because most people are like, listen, it's holiday, your family's in town,
take
it off. But it's not a holiday.
Right. It's not an official holiday. It's a day that there are people who still have to work.
There are people. Yes, some unfortunate people. Like he's acting like, well, based on your seniority, you don't have to come in. I said, well, we're not as hoity-toity as you are. Right. I'm sorry that I have a low-level job over here.
Sorry we're not cool like you, man.
Yeah. Well, my girlfriend works on that day because I asked her. I said, do you get Black Friday? Is that a holiday? She said, absolutely not. Not a holiday.
Because she's a regular human being.
She's a regular
for school.
Right. But no, Black Friday's definitely not a holiday. Now it falls right, like, for instance, Christmas Eve is quote unquote not a holiday.
But it's treated like a holiday.
But we generally work that day if it falls on a weekday.
If it falls on a weekday, we usually have work still to do. Yes, you and I.
Absolutely.
I can't speak for anybody else.
Now, I strategically, the way I create my vacation days, I generally have off that time, but that's just because I hold my vacation days so that I can use it during that time of the year.
You plan ahead.
But generally, Christmas Eve is not even considered technically a holiday.
No, it's not technically a holiday.
No, like if I'm looking at my trusty calendar over here, Christmas Day is listed on the calendar. Christmas Eve is not. New Year's Day is listed on the calendar. New Year's Eve is not. In fact, I know a lot of people work on New Year's Eve because there's a lot of time we have a New Year's Eve party at my house and people come from work.
There you go.
Yeah, so I don't know how it came up. I have no idea why it was even questioned. But I don't know if I said like, oh, playing on a holiday or whatever. But Black Friday is not a holiday.
No, it's not.
No.
But it's interesting the Eagles will play a game at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that day.
It will be. And then, you know what the most asinine question was? Well, if it's not a holiday, how come the NFL doesn't play every Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I said, well, generally, there's not a holiday before every Friday the whole season.
I'm pretty sure.
And guess what? I bet you if the NFL could found a way, because I think playing Thursday, Friday, Sunday, you might saturate a little bit. But, yeah, most people don't take off every Thursday from September through January. I didn't think I had to explain that one.
Thanksgiving is the one Thursday every year that we know is a holiday.
Every time. Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
Now, Christmas can fall on any of the 7 days a week, but we know that Thanksgiving is a Thursday every November, every single year.
Some people I'm seeing here that the Eagles will be in Buffalo December 28th. Week 17.
Interesting.
That's a tough one because it's going to be cold as heck up there.
It's not as bad for Philadelphia because they are at least in a cold weather city. So it's not like you're like Miami going
When
to
is
Buffalo.
Christmas this year? That falls on a Thursday. So the Eagle-Bill game, it looks like it's going to be a Sunday. So it's not. It doesn't look like it's a primetime game. I guess that will be a 4:25 game.
Yeah.
So Eagles, Bills, Buffalo, late December the 28th. That looks like that one is now penciled in as well. So you got another game on the slate. So we'll keep it up to date through that. By the way, Luzardo threw 5 innings, 71 pitches. Remember, it's a doubleheader today, and I think Rob Thompson said before the game he doesn't want to have to use a pitcher out of the bullpen in both games. So your bullpen's a little kind of short, I would imagine, in some capacity today. They did bring up you're allowed to bring up an extra guy.
Yeah, Dave Robert.
And they brought him up to be the extra arm today, so they do have an extra arm in the bullpen. But Eagles at Cowboys won't be Week 17. Week 17 is Cowboys at Washington on Netflix. Okay, I didn't see that, but I'll take your word for it.
I haven't seen the Netflix announcement yet. So I think some of this is still might be speculative.
I don't like that they do all the leaks. I'd rather just give it to me all. Like, although I said, if you want to do like a thing, the Monday Night Football schedule, announce it all on Monday instead of giving me one random game here. Because I feel like if you're the way they do it is like the Today Show gets a game, and then Good Morning America gets a game,
and CBS Mornings gets a game.
Just have on Monday, if you want to have Good Morning America, ABC, is that what ABC is? Good Morning America.
Yes.
Let them do the Monday Night Football schedule for the whole season.
I like that.
Tuesday, let the Today Show get the NBC Sunday Night Football schedule.
Cool idea.
On Wednesday, whatever the show that CBS has in the
CBS
mornings, let them announce the well, they don't have a primetime game.
No, but you could announce maybe like the 4:25
Well, no,
CBS
what they
games.
could do is let them announce the international games.
Okay.
Whatever. I mean, have each day, one day Monday night, one game Sunday night, one day Thursday night, one day all the international games. And then the last day of the week on Friday, fill in the rest of the schedule. The way these little leaks come out like this, I feel like I'm missing. Like, this game got announced, I missed that. This guy's texting in, Bills, Eagles, you missed that one. I mean, I can't keep up with them all. They're all over the place. I don't know who's breaking what's coming where.
Well, and that's why the other thing is, as I said earlier, and I can't speak to every single person's, but like I had a buddy of mine text me this morning about, hey, is this true? And I looked up and I was like, I haven't seen that verified by anyone legitimate anywhere. Marshawn.
No, that's Marsh.
Oh, Marsh.
Marshawn's up now. Marshawn is up the bat now. That was Marsh.
Marsh, gotcha.
Yeah. Close in the names. Yeah.
I saw the little thing on the headline drop, and I saw a left-handed hitter swinging a ball. So.
Well, they were showing Marshawn in the video.
Gotcha.
But he's on deck.
That's
now
why I got mixed up.
He's coming to the plate right now. See, there he is.
There he is. There's Marshawn.
Yesterday, Sixers head coach Nick Nurse was on the show. We will replay that full interview tonight at 5:30 if you missed it.
I'm sorry, Mike. You missed the most ridiculous reason why Marshawn got a hit.
Well, it was funny. They just flashed on the screen, plus 350. I was going to tell you to bang that right now, that he's going to get a base hit.
Yeah, well, it fell in between the two outfielders. Watch this replay. I mean, the ball literally just drops in between the two guys. This is a bad angle by the replay people, by the way. But the other angle would have been better because you see them coming down and neither one of them gets to the ball.
Well, it was plus 350 for him to get a hit right there.
Yeah, well, he got it. Hope somebody wants some money.
Nick Nurse was on the show yesterday. We will play the full interview tonight at 5:30. If you missed it, it is on the YouTube channel at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can listen to the full interview with Sixers head coach Nick Nurse. I asked him, the first question out of the gates was, when did he realize that last season was a lost season? This is what he told me.
The trade deadline comes and goes, and we make another little run to get some guys back healthy, and we just started losing more guys. And Joel didn't, decided he wasn't going to play the rest of the year, and Tyrese got hurt. At that point, you were kind of like, this is not our year. It just isn't. And then it was really quickly move into let's get these other guys evaluated, and let's get them out there and let's see if we can build them and develop them and see what happens.
So it wasn't like a definitive, like, hey, this was the day. But he said, we go to the trade deadline and this guy gets hurt, and then Joel, and it kind of sounds like he's saying Joel decided he didn't want to play anymore. Regardless, I think Joel, the team, I think they all were like, listen, this just isn't our year. Let's just kind of shut it down and get into evaluation mode. So it sounds like sometime right after the trade deadline is when Nurse realized this just isn't our year.
And look, there was a lot of people like myself, Mike, who criticized Philadelphia for taking so long to pull the plug on the season. And, the Sixers felt like they still had a chance for Embiid and George to come back. And as time progressed, they realized that it just wasn't going to happen. As Nick Nurse said, we realized it wasn't our year.
Well, he mentioned Embiid. He said, when Embiid kind of decided, and Embiid, I think, said he wanted to get the surgery.
Right. So the Shams report months ago stated that the Sixers kept trying to tell Embiid to rehab, and Embiid was saying, I think I need surgery, guys. And that was kind of the holdup, was the Sixers group of doctors were saying one thing, and Embiid and his team were saying something else.
All right, so this is what Nick Nurse said about Joel Embiid in regards to his recovery. He said he thinks it's going in the right direction.
I think we're on a road to getting him back to a little more, getting back to who he is, with this whole long off season and full summer, rehab and strengthening and conditioning and all those things. And then we can get ourselves back on the right track.
Right. He said, I think we're getting him in the right direction. This long process is now coming to hopefully an end for him.
And really quick, I want to remind people, Daryl Morey said something similar as well, where he is in interviews and said that, hey, Joel's progressing well, he's going in the right direction. So there seems to be at least a consensus about Joel's recovery.
Let me hear what he had to say about Paul George's value and fit with the Sixers.
Loved some of the things that George brought, especially defensively last year. I think he's a really good player. I think he's really smart. And I think that, maybe he doesn't score as much as he used to back in his prime, but he's still a really good shooter. He can get shots off because of his 6'9" frame.
So the way he kind of talks about George is how I see George. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday in the 5 o'clock hour. If Paul George is your third scorer, your third option, I think you're okay with him scoring 15 to 17 a night. What you thought you were getting from Tobias Harris. I get you paid more than what a third guy would get, but like the Sixers, so this is where it's weird. In an era where the 3 stars is kind of antiquated, the Sixers kind of went down that road. So they still have 3 guys that are getting paid most of the money. The good thing for the Sixers is they don't have it's not like the Suns where they have Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker, and then the rest of the team is dog meat. The Sixers actually have some pieces other than those guys. But their philosophy is a little bit of an old era of basketball, which is the 3 stars. And their third guy, Paul George, they're paying him. He's almost in the Tobias Harris category now, where he's getting paid too much money to be a third guy. When you pay him the money that you paid Paul George, you want him to be a higher profile guy. I think the thought was, let's get him here. He's an upgrade over Tobias Harris. And if we get an upgrade over Tobias Harris, that should be good enough to help us get over the hump to the next level. Now, what about Maxey? What about McCain? Can they play together? Here's what Nick Nurse said.
We know we need to get Tyrese off the ball some just to let him display the shooting aspect of his game that he can do, and just to get him just some rest off the ball. Really, Jared, we tried to put him on the ball to see what kind of point guard he was, and obviously he played a lot of point guard in his younger years, and I really think they kind of coexist as both the 1 and the 2, just kind of sharing both positions. And I think they have assets at both of them, and I think it's necessary that we have them both play each position.
All right, so that's the coach's comments. What did the general manager say about the 2 of those guys playing together? Because Daryl Morey was on the Right to Ricky Sanchez podcast last week, and he was asked about Maxey and McCain playing together, and his answer was a little different.
Historically, it's been hard. The only way McCain, Tyrese type, your two guards guarding ones and twos, is if you have like a very strong rim protecting big, can make that work. And if we have Joel, we'll be fine. So I do think it works if you have a near elite rim protector, but otherwise I think it's challenging.
Yeah. So in other words, if Embiid's back, we're good. If not, then it's challenging to play those two guys together. I think Morey was pretty open about that. I mean, give him some credit. He was pretty open about that. Whereas Nurse said, we think that they can play together, but he doesn't look at them as you're this guy and you're that guy. We kind of have to, hey, sometimes you're this guy and sometimes you're this guy.
And by the way, that's where the most successful teams in the NBA are today. Almost every top-tier NBA team has multiple ball handlers on their team. There is no pure point guards roaming around with every team anymore. Almost every one of these teams has 2-3 guys who basically alternate running the offense.
Well, and listen, if you have two ball handlers, that's a good thing, because one of the problems this team has had for a while is they never had, hey, we can't get it. We don't have a backup one. We don't have a backup ball handler. They had to bring in Kyle Lowry. They got to get away from the Kyle Lowry guys. They got to get away from that older guy that they just have here because Nick Nurse is comfortable with him. So hopefully that answered a lot of questions. We'll have the full interview coming up tonight at 5:30 if you missed it, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. By the way, Phils and Cardinals, a doubleheader at Citizens Bank Park. And I mean, Trey Turner, can you learn how to put a tag on, please?
That was so sloppy.
Yeah, he didn't tag him.
He missed him.
Yeah, because he's terrible at it. It's nothing in the sixth. Guy steals a base. He's out by a mile, and Trey Turner just doesn't know how to put a tag on.
I mean, literally, if he just would have put the glove down and held it there, he would have been out. But instead, he tries to do this fancy swipe thing.
Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City will join us, get his thoughts on the Eagles games release, the Knicks and Celtics looking to finish possibly their series tonight, and we'll get his thoughts on some of the stuff Nick Nurse had to say here on the Sports Bash. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City joins me next on the Sports Bash. All right, 2:30, Phils and Cards, nothing in the first game of the doubleheader. We got that. Little Phils double disco today. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. We got the basketball. We got the football schedules being released. We've got the Flyers hired a new head coach. We'll have more details on that in 1 hour from now. Rick Tocchet is the Flyers' new head coach. We had Nick Nurse on the show yesterday. We got Eagles games being released. Man, Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. We can go all over the place here. I know you're probably looking forward to the Knicks closing out the Celtics. This series has lost a little luster, though, with Tatum going down, eh?
Yeah, it has, obviously, although the Knicks had wrapped that game up the other night by the time the Tatum injury happened. But, this would be vintage Knicks tonight, going up to Boston. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Boston won tonight and forced it back to Madison Square Garden for Friday night. I expect the Knicks to kind of move on from the series, obviously win one of the next three, but I still don't expect it to be easy. I expect the Boston Celtics to to play with some heart, and they're the defending champions, and they're not going to go out easy. So the Knicks still got their work cut out for them.
All right, Mike. So that's tonight. You got a little Knicks and Celtics tonight. I agree. I think the Knicks probably closed this thing out. They would have won the game even with Why do you think – what happened in that series? I mean, I think a lot of people, the first game, the Celtics didn't shoot that well. The second game, the Celtics didn't shoot well. Then the Celtics shoot the lights out, and it felt like, okay, here they come. Why were the Knicks able to beat the Celtics in that series?
Yeah, I just think, Mike, it comes down to Jalen Brunson and his ability to score and get good looks and shots in the final minutes of the game. I mean, the Knicks offense was just more efficient in the fourth quarter when the game, the pace of a playoff game slows down. It slows down even more in the fourth quarter, and the Knicks were just more efficient than the Celtics offensively, and a lot of that credit's got to go to Jalen Brunson. And then I think the Knicks just have maybe a special sauce about them with those Villanova guys. It's Brunson, it's Bridges, it's Hart. There's so much trust in those three guys. They've kind of been through so many battles together. Their body language is outstanding, and they just don't panic, and they support each other, and they have a next play mentality. And I believe that kicks over to the rest of the team. So I guess you got to give Brunson and the Villanova guys a lot of credit.
As a Knicks guy, you want Indiana or do you want the Cavs? And it looks like the Pacers are going to move on. Obviously, well, did you want? I know the Pacers won last night and knocked Cleveland out. Did you want Indiana or did you want the Cavs?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be Indiana. I'd rather have the Cavaliers. I still have Knicks PTSD from those series in the 1990s. Obviously, that series last year. I think the Indiana Pacers are underrated. I think Halliburton is an underrated player, even by the NBA players themselves. So Rick Carlisle is an excellent coach. And like I said, I've got PTSD from Reggie Miller and the 1990s, Rick Smits, all those guys.
They were fun.
Brown. I'd rather have had the Cavaliers.
That was a fun. Those series were great. The Reggie Miller, the choke, and all that stuff. It looks like it'll be Knicks and Pacers. The Pacers, by the way, have been in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row. I don't know that anybody is paying attention to that, but that is something that I think is a little bit surprising as well. All right, Phils have a doubleheader going today. They are 2 on, nobody out here. Luzardo is kind of cruising along. The Phillies just can't get anything going after the rain out yesterday, so we'll see what ends up happening there. I want to get your thoughts, though. The Eagles and the Giants are going to play twice in a 3-week span. Do you like that, how they did that? Because the Eagles also play the Commanders twice within the 3 weeks.
Yeah, Mike, I don't like that at all. I think I like the division games. I don't like how they jam some of the division games into the end of the season, right? So I don't like the Washington Commanders against the Eagles twice in the last 3 weeks at all. I don't like the Eagles against the Giants twice in 3 weeks. I'd rather see a game in late September and then another division game in late November or early December. I think you can build some anticipation for that game. You can see if the teams are getting better. You can see how the season of the story plays out. I mean, I guarantee you, Mike, that one of those 2 games against the Commanders might be meaningless. to at least one of the teams. And I don't know why you would want to have such a marquee game like that be meaningless. I think you want to play division games when they mean the most, and I know they're trying to do that at the end of the season, but that's not the way it works out. So I would play a division game in September, October, and then I would play the second game in November and December and space them out. I do not mark me down as a no for these 2 games in 3 weeks stuff. I just think it wastes division games.
I agree with you. I don't like it at all. I mean, they're playing Dallas in week 1. By the time you're at week 10, you've already played Dallas once, the Giants twice, and then you play Washington the last 2 weeks. Your division games, depending on where they put that second Dallas game, you could be pretty much done with the division until the last 2 weeks of the year. And then those 2 games might not mean a whole heck of a lot. Have you seen the Giants' schedule, by the way? That thing is brutal.
Well, I think that's for the entire NFC East, right? I mean, I think just the divisions they're playing, the NFC North and the AFC West. I mean, I was talking with somebody before the Phillies game here about the number of big-time game the Eagles are playing. It's like you can't go wrong with any of these games. Eagles-Chiefs, you like. Eagles-Chargers, Eagles-Raiders. Same thing with the Giants. You know, Giants-Bears, Giants-Packers, Giants-Vikings, Giants-Chargers, Giants-Chiefs. I mean, I just think it's the schedule, the way it's worked out, playing the AFC West and the NFC North, that leads to a ton of big-time games. And I think the schedule for every team in the NFC East is going to be tough, not only because of your division games, but because of the divisions that you're playing. I mean, the AFC West and the NFC North, those teams are no joke.
Yeah, Mike, by the way, New York opens at Washington, at Dallas, Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs, and then the Chargers. They have 4 very difficult and challenging games.
I mean, Mike, my first instinct when you rattle those 4 games off to me is, oh, my God, the Giants are 0-4. So that's my first instinct. When you rattle those games off to me, that's the first thing that pops into my head. I'd sign for 1-3 right now.
Well, you got that. Then you're at the Saints, who, okay, that's a little bit. And then Thursday night at home against Philadelphia, at the Broncos, and then back on the road at Philadelphia. So the Saints are the only non-playoff team, and the Cowboys, by the way. The Cowboys did not make the playoffs. But the Saints are the only non-playoff team or non-division game for the first 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, again, in my head, you play the game, win, loss, stuff like that. In my head, I play that out, and I go 2-6. Hopefully it doesn't work out like that for Giants and their fans, me included. But my first instinct when you rattle off those 8 games is best-case scenario, 2-6. You know what that says to me? That says to me we're going to see Jackson Dart in Week 9.
All right, Mike McGarry, let's go over to the Sixers. They did get the 3rd pick in the draft, so the ping-pong balls went their way. What is your initial thought on pick 3? Do you have someone that stands out to you, or do you think that puts Daryl Morey and the Sixers in a challenging spot?
Well, Mike, my instinct really with pick 3 is that the Sixers are a team built to win right now. And when I hear that they're looking at a guy like Ace Bailey of Rutgers, I watched a lot of Rutgers basketball this past season. Ace Bailey has tremendous upside. He could be a very good NBA player, but in 3 to 4 years, I don't think he's going to help you next year. So I think the challenge for the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that is built to win right now, I think they've got to take a very real look at that, trading that number 3 pick and trying to get back maybe a veteran point guard, maybe a young wing who can come off the bench. I think they've seriously got to look, since they are built to win right now with Embiid, George, and Maxey. I think they've really got to look at trading that pick for a player that can help them win next year, because I don't think the guy they're going to get at number 3 is going to have that big an impact. I don't think Ace Bailey is a guy that's going to help you win next year. I mean, Mike, he played for Rutgers. Rutgers lost to Princeton. Princeton isn't in the NBA. So if I'm the Sixers, I think maybe about trading that pick for players who can help me win next year.
Yeah, why do you think that? I asked this question, when Ben Simmons was coming out, Markelle Fultz, the same thing. People said, look, they didn't even get to the tournament. Now, those were only one guy on the team. You have the 2nd and 3rd potential pick in the draft. I get it. Maybe Rutgers didn't have a lot of talent around them. They have 2 lottery picks, and they did not only make the tournament, they didn't have a winning record. You said you watch a lot of Rutgers, and I'm scratching my head thinking, how do you have 2 lottery picks and not be 500 at least?
Yeah, I mean, in Dylan Harper's defense, I mean, he did have some injuries during the season. I think he got the flu very badly during the season, and that kind of knocked him off stride for several games in the middle of the season, and that might have cost Rutgers, 3 to 4, maybe 5 wins during that stretch. Ace Bailey would have some games where he'd be outstanding. He had a game against Indiana where I think he scored 40 points. He had other games where he wasn't much of a factor at all. I don't know what to make of that, Mike, guys not making the NCAA tournament, but I will say this. It does bother me, and to me it's a warning light when you're drafting guys that can't get their team to an NCAA tournament. And not only couldn't get their team to an NCAA tournament, I mean, Rutgers was one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. So, again, in my own mind, if these guys are so good and you expect them to help you win in the NBA next year, I don't see it happening. I mean, like I said, I think Ace Bailey might be a great player 3, 4, 5 years from now. But next year, and the Sixers are a next year team, I don't see much help coming from them. So to me, I think you've got to look at all your options, and that includes trading that pick.
The trade back, I think, is the most attractive thing to me. I'm wondering what someone would give you player-wise that you can get an established player to move back and give them number 3. To me, Mike, I think that feels like best-case scenario over what you're saying, just taking a guy, because is the guy at 3 much different than the guy at 6, 7, 8, 9? I don't know about that.
Yeah, Mike, if you can trade back with the 3rd pick and get a guy and then get a pick like, let's say, in the 17 to 22 range or something, I like that also. And the reason why I like that is, let's give Daryl Morey some credit. He has shown in his time in Philadelphia the ability to pick up guys in that 17 to 25 range and have them be immediate contributors to the team. So, again, I agree with you. That's another scenario. If they can take that 3 pick, move back in the draft, and get a veteran player out of it, and then let Daryl Morey do what he has done the past couple of years and get a guy who can contribute right away in that spot, that would certainly be a way to go. But just settling at 3 and taking a guy who might have upside 3 to 4 seasons from now, I don't think that's the way to go for the Philadelphia 76ers.
All right, last one for Mike McGarry. You watch a lot of Sixers. Daryl Morey indicated that Maxey and McCain, he kind of admitted they might have trouble playing together unless Embiid is healthy. Then you have a rim protector, and then you can go a little smaller. Yesterday, we had Nick Nurse on the show. He seemed a little bit more, as the coach anyway, a little bit more intrigued by the possibilities of playing those 2 guys together. What do you think, Maxey and McCain?
I think it's very difficult to have 2 guards that small and have 2 guards who are not that great defensively. Both have shown, obviously Maxey's strength of his game is offense. McCain showed a lot of offensive promise in the time he was healthy. I think it's very difficult to win in the NBA with, a smaller guard. If I was going to pick one player to play alongside Tyrese Maxey, it would be a guy like Derek White of the Boston Celtics, a 6'6" guy who can shoot the ball offensively, but is also a standout defender, can block shots, rebound. That's the guy I want to put next to Tyrese Maxey. I think if you put Maxey and McCain out there together, what you're leaving yourself open to is somebody like Derek White, a 6'6" guard, hurting you on the offensive end of the floor with his ability to score. So, I understand what Nick Nurse is saying there. I mean, I think he's in a situation where, he's got to sort of defend the players he has. But I think it's very difficult to win in the – just look around the league. Look at the players they've got to guard. To win in the East, you've got to stop Jalen Brunson. You've got to stop Halliburton. I don't see Maxey or McCain defensively being able to do that.
All right, Mike McGarry is at the Phillies game. You got a doubleheader. You got Phils and Cardinals battling out at Citizens Bank Park. What, you got a pitching change up there for the Cardinals, it looks like here? Phil's got a little business going right now. Luzardo is cruising along again. So Luzardo pitching well. We'll see if the Phillies can steal a couple of games here. They got 2 today. Then they're off again tomorrow, and they'll play the Pirates this weekend. And Mike is back on Friday to take a look. Paul Skeens will be pitching on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit about him. I'm sure Painter will come up and more. By the way, Painter pitching on Thursday night, so we'll recap his start as well. Mike, enjoy the ball games, man.
All right, we'll see you down the road, Mike. Thank you.
There goes Mike, and of course he's back Friday with a weekend preview here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. I'm Mike Gill. What's up, everybody? Hopefully you're enjoying today's show. We got a lot going on. You can be a part of the show on the text board, 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Mike, the Sixers will be the same in 2025, 2026 if they're going into the season with Embiid and George as 2 of their top 3 options. Embiid is most likely never going to be the same guy again, and George played only 70 games once this decade. And I've been a big Maxey fan, but I don't think Maxey is a top 2 option. I think he benefited when other teams were worried about Harden and Embiid. That's from Cole and LBI. Yeah, all good points. I have a thought, Cole, on why the Sixers are better off keeping Embiid. Even if I'm the biggest Embiid hater in the world, I'll tell you why I think the Sixers are just better off keeping Joel. That's next. This is the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 1-0 Cards. 1 on, 2 out. Cardinals lead 1-0 over the Phils. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. By the way, today is another Stump the Sports Geek. You want today's category?
I don't think it'll help me at all, but sure.
Well, it's for the listeners out there. If they want to start texting in, you're going to win a pair of tickets to Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live. Got another pair of tickets for Ocean Casino Resort. Last week, Josh didn't do very well. We had a category of Philadelphia Eagles last week. This week's category is NBA Draft.
Interesting.
609 403 0973. Include your name and where you're from. How many of 10 questions on the NBA Draft do we think Josh will get right today? Whoever gets it right on the nose, if there are multiple people, we will randomly select one lucky winner. If there is no one who gets it correct, whoever is the closest, and if there is someone closest, it will be the number that is the lowest, not over, unless there is no number lower.
Now, do you think these
like
questions...
last week, for instance, by the way, just to clarify, you only got 3 right. The closest was 4 guessed by a listener.
So now, do you think these questions are easier or harder?
I knew every answer. In fact, I played the game and answered every question, and I got 10 out of 10.
Yeah, but you're also...
I am an NBA draft savant.
Yeah, you did. I think that you...
Is NBA draft a category that you feel confident in?
I would say that I feel confident in any category that the questions line up with something I'm familiar with.
NBA draft, are you familiar?
I think I'm familiar, but I thought I knew the Eagles' history too. So,
all right, here's the game: 609 403 0973. Text your name, where you're from, and how many questions on the NBA draft you think Josh will correctly answer. Okay? Simple, right?
Straightforward.
Okay. We'll play coming up on the other side. Today's Stump the Sports Geek. Kevin Durso after that. Flyers have hired Rick Tocchet. He'll give us some insight on why and what that means. Plus, Geoff Mosher on all the Eagles leaks. Phillies have replaced Luzardo. He is out of the game. It looks like anyway. It looks like his day will be done.
They're giving him congratulations.
It looks like it, right, in the 7th here with the Phillies trailing 1-0. So when we come back, Stump the Sports Geek for this week. Pair of tickets to Colin Jost at Ocean Casino on the line. All right, 3 o'clock, Sports Bash. What do we got? 1-0. Phil's trailing the Cardinals. Got a manager's challenge here. Don't know what's happening because I can't hear the game, but there's a runner on third. I don't know who's challenging and who's doing what.
I saw the ball go over the second baseman's head. From what I understand, it looked like the challenge is at the plate. But
Who's
again,
challenging, the Phillies, the Cardinals?
I think here's the replay here. Okay, so it's at the second base challenge.
He's
out.
Ooh, he's out. Well, it looked like I think the helmet fell off of Marshawn's head, and I think he tugged the helmet, but his head wasn't connected to the helmet.
So you're saying that they tagged an inanimate object,
Right? I mean,
so how does that rule work? If the helmet is touching the body but it's not on the body, it's safe?
good question. Right? Is that what happened? His helmet
Yeah.
came flying off of his head, and
The
it looks
glove
like the
hit
glove
the
hit the helmet.
But the helmet was in between his chest and the ground at that point.
I think. I mean, it happened so fast here. Here's the throw.
Oh, there's a cool angle. All right, now, the ball is there. So it
The
doesn't hit
helmet's off
hand.
of his head. And the glove, I think he's safe. He got his left hand in there.
Well, it looks like
Look at the helmet.
The helmet blocks the glove.
Yeah.
This is actually a smart strategy by Marshawn.
He's
here.
safe.
This is a great strategy by Marshawn. I'm going to get my helmet to come off my head, so then the helmet blocks the glove.
Yeah, the question is, he tugged his helmet, but his helmet was not on his head. It was
It
just
was not
rolling on the
connected to his
ground.
body.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I think he's safe, at least in that the angle that it looked like to us.
And they called him safe.
They called him safe.
Yep, the call is overturned.
So
He
man
is
at
safe.
second and third now.
Yep.
1 out.
So Nuggets will be mad because he wants Marshawn gone. I'm saying Marshawn,
What, he wants Stubbs back?
well, I mean, he's saying because Marshawn hasn't got a hit in like 5 games, he should be gone.
You got an RBI right there.
Yeah. All right, here we go. The category today is
It's not about Rafael Marshawn. Thank God.
NBA draft. Okay? 609 403 0973. Your name and where you're from. How many questions out of 10 do we think Josh, the sports geek, will get right today? Sorry. The game is Stump the Sports Geek. Last week the category was Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
And you got 3 out of 10. Now, you felt pretty confident on that category.
I did.
Do you feel better about the Eagles category or NBA draft?
Well, historically, I feel better about the Eagles, but considering how poorly I did last week, I don't think that my confidence has any factor on these results.
I will say, I played the game, and I got all 10 correct.
You're also the same guy who can name me random colleges for college basketball players, so I think that you would I would say your NBA draft knowledge probably has a little more depth than mine.
609 403 0973. We're playing for tickets to see Colin Jost at Ocean Casino this summer. Pair of tickets, Ocean Casino.
Should be a great
Saturday
show.
Night Live. You going to the show?
I wish I could. I haven't.
I think I can get you tickets.
Think you give me a ticket? You know somebody?
I have a connection at
You know a guy
Ocean Casino.
or
right?
a lady or something?
Well, if you want to go, maybe the winner will take you. You can win a pair of tickets. All you have to do, how many do you think Josh will get correct? If nobody hits the number on the nose, whoever is closest, and if it's within 1, it will be the guess that is lower.
Right.
All right? And if multiple people guess the same number, we will just randomly select them. We have a way that we throw all the numbers into the program. We hit the button. It'll just throw us a number, and that's the phone number that we'll pick, okay?
Yeah, AI is in charge at that point.
609 403 0973. Your name, where you're from, and how many questions you think that Josh will answer correctly today. Stump the Sports Geek.
This, by the way, might be one of the top 5 greatest game show music of all time.
Definitely builds up the anticipation. All right, question 1. NBA draft is today's. By the way, the Phillies have tied the game.
Ball was off the second baseman Donovan's glove.
Weston Wilson comes around to score. Bryson Stott. There was a guy who wanted Bryson Stott benched. I haven't heard from him wanting to bench Bryson Stott much.
Probably the same guy who said Howie Roseman's an idiot.
All right, question 1. NBA draft is today's category.
All right.
With the first pick in the 2004 NBA draft, who did the Orlando Magic select from Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy High School?
Dwight Howard.
That is correct. Okay.
The big hint there was when you mentioned the school was from Atlanta. That helped me, actually.
Question 2. With the third selection in the 2007 NBA draft,
The third selection?
number 3,
Okay.
who did the Atlanta Hawks select from the University of Florida?
Oh, Al Horford.
That is correct.
University of Florida was very helpful there.
Question 3, NBA draft. With the 5th pick in the 1987 NBA draft, the Seattle Supersonics select from Central Arkansas.
Okay, what pick was it again?
The 5th pick,
The 5th pick in what year?
1987, the Seattle Supersonics select from Central Arkansas.
Okay, so I think this was Scottie Pippen, who then was traded to the Bulls for Olden Polynice.
All of that is correct. Polynice was the journeyman center.
I remember this from the Last Dance documentary.
Question 4. With the 4th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Washington Bullets select from the University of North Carolina.
Wow, we're going back to the Bullets. Who did the Bullets have picked? In 95?
Yep, I graduated high school that year. My 30-year reunion is coming up, and no, I cannot attend for the people who keep emailing me. I apologize. I have a prior engagement. I've been getting emails left and right.
I was going to say, at least you got an invite. My 20-year high school reunion, they didn't hold it. They didn't host it.
We had a
never got an
20-year.
email.
I'm on 30 now, and I don't need to be reminded, but I wish I could go. I have a prior engagement the night of the thing, so here's my official statement. I will not be there.
All right, so
I've been asked a bunch, am I going? And I said I have something scheduled on that day.
So 1995, Washington Bullets, North Carolina.
That is correct.
I am going to guess. I don't feel very good about this guess, by the way. Eric Montross?
That is incorrect.
All right, who was it?
Rasheed Wallace.
Wait, so Rasheed Wallace with the Bullets before we got to the Blazers?
Yes.
I did not remember that. But he played with Montross at North Carolina, right?
I think they were 95 together, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I have to look up where Montross got drafted. But I'm pretty sure he was in the same draft class.
All right. 3 right, 1 wrong. Here we go. Question 5, NBA draft. Who did the Minnesota Timberwolves select out of the University of USC with the 3rd pick in the 2008 NBA draft?
Oh, boy. Timberwolves, USC.
That is Southern Cal.
Right, not UCLA.
Nope. They are 2 different universities.
Well, I was
located within a very short
radius
distance from each other.
Ah, boy. I'm going to guess.
Colin Jost, Parrot Tickets, Ocean Casino. That's what the listeners are playing for today.
But that catcher he might be concussed over there for the Cardinals.
Phillies are up 2-1. A
I'm
lot of entries today, by the way.
I'm going to guess O.J. Mayo.
O.J. Mayo is correct. Wow.
Do you know why I asked what school it was, though?
He was traded in exchange for on
draft night?
Draft night.
Okay, was it? So he was traded to the Grizzlies, wasn't he?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Who was he traded for?
You actually said his college.
Kevin Love?
That is correct.
Oh, my God.
Josh had to step away from the console. He is so amazed at his own ability to recall that O.J. Mayo was traded for Kevin Love, and he went to the Grizzlies in 2008. That was a pretty good one. I'll give you a lot of credit for that one. I got
actually,
Mayo right. I did not remember he got traded for Love.
Well, you told
I
me.
did extra research to find that, though.
Yeah, because I knew Kevin Love was from UCLA because he was on the cover
Yeah.
of the video game back in the day. Remember?
He was a chunky guy at UCLA.
Yeah,
He lost a lot of weight in the pros.
he did. Good for him.
With the third pick in the 2001 NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks select from FC Barcelona.
The Hawks?
The Atlanta Hawks.
See, the only guy I can think of, but I don't remember him ever playing for the Hawks. But then again, a lot of these guys get traded. Pau Gasol
That is correct.
never played for the Hawks. He must have been traded to the Grizzlies right afterward.
I think you're thinking of Marc Gasol, who went to the Grizzlies.
Didn't Pau Gasol also play for the Grizzlies? Because I thought Marc Gasol went to high school in Memphis when Pau was playing for the Grizzlies.
Pau Gasol played for Memphis, but he got traded. He was drafted by the Hawks and then traded.
Because I remember the whole thing was when Pau got traded to the Lakers, he was traded for his brother Mark.
You know, he was traded. His draft night rights were traded in exchange for Sharif Abdur-Rahim.
Didn't work out too well for the Hawks.
By the way, they were the Vancouver Grizzlies at the time.
Ooh,
Yes.
interesting.
Yes. All right. Couple more. Here we go. You have 5 correct. You have 1 wrong.
So I'm already done better than last week.
So right now, if you guess 5, you're hoping he tanks the rest of the way.
Exactly. There's people out there right now.
See a guy here, Mark in Northfield, says 5. He is, I think, Josh in Williamstown has a 5. A couple others are hoping that you do not get any more right.
I
Here
think
we go.
Terry and Galloway had 5 as well.
He thought this was a hard category. See, NBA draft's right in my wheelhouse. I got all 5. I got all 10 right.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Who from North Carolina did the Toronto Raptors select with the 4th overall pick in the 1998 NBA draft?
This is a trick question because it was actually Antoine Jamison. He was traded for Vince Carter to the Golden State Warriors.
That is correct.
I remember this whole thing very well because, you know, it was just so weird that 2 teammates got traded for each other on draft night.
That is correct. Do you know who Vince Carter got drafted by? They got flip-flopped.
Golden State Warriors.
That is correct.
Yeah.
All right. All the people with 5, you are now eliminated.
Sorry, I had a moment there where I thought you were asking me to name the GM, and I was like, I don't know that answer.
With the 2nd pick in the 1992 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select from the University of Georgetown.
Oh my goodness. I see his face. Alonzo Mourning.
That is correct.
Because I remember he played for Charlotte, and he was later traded to the Miami Heat.
Also accurate. All right. 2 more. You have 7 correct. With the 2nd pick in the 1984 NBA draft, the Portland Trailblazers select from the University of Kentucky.
Sam Bowie.
That is correct.
That's the easiest question you asked.
Michael Jordan was 3rd. Charles Barkley was 5th.
Hakeem Olajuwon was number 1.
John Stockton was 16th in that draft. It was a very good draft, 1984. All right, this is the final question. Those of you who have 8, you are hoping he fails. If you picked 9 out of 10, you're in good shape, potentially, here. The Portland Trailblazers and the Seattle Supersonics had the first 2 picks in the NBA draft. Which 2 players were selected, 1 and 2?
In what year?
1 moment, please.
Because the year
I have the year chopped off.
Oh. The year would be helpful. Could have been
2007. It just my notes say 200.
And you were like, that's not right.
In the 2007 NBA draft, the Portland Trailblazers and the Seattle Supersonics picked 1 and 2. Which 2 players were taken? 1 and 2.
I believe number 2 by the Seattle Supersonics was Kevin Durant from Texas. 1, if I remember correctly, was Greg Oden from Ohio State.
That is correct. Total of 9 correct answers. If you selected 9, you are still alive for the ticket. I don't know how many people actually picked 9. We'll have to go through. I do see somebody there with a 9.
You see a 9 on there?
I do see a 9 on there. I have to go through. We've got a lot of texts here. So we'll go through the list. We'll see how many we got. If you selected 9, you are up for the tickets.
So now, are you impressed?
Mr. 305 not. He said these are layups.
He's not impressed.
No, he is not impressed.
All right.
It doesn't. There's not a level of difficulty on these. So
Gotcha.
Some weeks I might want you to get all 10. Some weeks I might only want you to get 3.
That's true.
Right?
I don't see these questions ahead of time, so
No, you do not.
I don't even know where you get them from.
You don't know where I get them from. You also don't know where I store them.
That's true, too. Although, I don't
Big
wanna...
Al from Violence says,
Yeah.
Josh is doing good this week.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah. I don't think they were layups if you are not a big NBA draft guy. Like, you're taking for granted that people watch and cover the NBA draft.
Well, to me, like, the Sam Bowie one was the easiest.
Yeah, the 84 draft is pretty well known.
Like, that's one of those
Like
things.
you mentioned the North Carolina guys. That one's a little tricky. You know, the Pippen one where you don't. If he played for the Bulls, he never played. Some of these guys never played for the teams.
Right,
that
that's the
drafted
key. They get drafted by, like, the only reason why I guess Gasol with the Hawks was because you said FC Barcelona, and I'm thinking, well, I know it's not Rudy Fernandez.
All right, so we'll go through and see what do we got here. So congratulations. Well, thanks first off to everybody who played. We got a lot of people who were texting in with guesses. We'll do Stump the Sports Geek again next Wednesday here. This week it was tickets for, what was it?
Colin Jost.
Sorry.
Ocean Casino Resort.
I blanked. on
Atlantic
that.
City.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live. I know the segment that he does. I don't watch Saturday Night Live. I haven't seen Saturday Night Live since I was in high school, but I do see the social media clips of that.
I was going to say, there's literally an Instagram account that all it does is show all of those segments.
All right, when we come back, the Flyers have a new head coach. They are going to hire Rick Tocchet to be the next head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. Kevin Durso from 97.3 ESPN.com is going to break it all down with us. By the way, Tocchet in his career, 286, 265 with 87 ties or overtime games or whatever you call it in hockey these days. In the regular season, he is 11-11 in the playoffs. He is the 25th head coach in team history. Flyers Hall of Famer Rick Tocchet. Let us know. Are you a fan of that decision to bring in Rick Tocchet? We'll talk to Flyers insider Kevin Durso when we return right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Hey, I want to tell you about my friends over at Game Day Men's Health before we talk to Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet looks like a guy who would go to Game Day Men's Health, right? Guy's in good shape still for a guy in his, what's Tocchet, in his 50s?
60s, actually.
Really? I think he's 62 now that you said it. I think it just clicked. Well, Rick Tocchet's in his 60s. He looks like a man in his 40s. Treatable areas, MSK therapy. If you have some sort of sore muscle pain, back pain, neck pain, foot, heel, stress fracture, knee pain, tendon pain, shoulder pain, hamstring pain, MSK therapy is highly effective, non-invasive. They also can do testosterone replacement therapy, ED with a P shot. They've got all sorts of ways that you can get checked out. Ask all the key questions and stop on in. 15 minutes, a quick in and out is all you need to do. Game Day Men's Health, 3069 English Creek Avenue, Egg Harbor Township. When we come back, Flyers insider Kevin Durso joins me to talk about the Flyers' new head coach, Rick Tocchet. That's next. All right. All right, everybody. All right, everybody, welcome back. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Kevin Durso covers the Flyers for 97.3 ESPN.com, and he joins me right now with the a little bit of breaking Flyers news earlier today in the noon hour. It was reported that the Flyers have decided on the next head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers, and he is a very familiar name to Flyers fans. Let's bring in our Flyers insider, Kevin Durso, with the latest on the Flyers, who have decided, Kevin, they are going back to their roots, and they are hiring Rick Tocchet as the team's 25th head coach. And we kind of talked about this was a possibility. Then he did some television stuff. Maybe he wanted to get out of coaching for a little bit. But Rick Tocchet is the next Flyers head coach.
Yeah, I feel like this was brewing for a while at this point. You know, the day that John Tortorella got fired, I think either that day or the day after, I wrote about some early possibilities. Rick Tocchet's name was the first on the list because it always seemed like it came back to him in some way, shape, or form. The connections that were there, the idea that he was interviewed the last time they had an opening. So this goes back a while, the interest in him as a head coach. And I feel like you could be the biggest supporter of this. You could be his biggest detractor. You can still acknowledge that you kind of felt like this was what was going to happen. I think it was just the first name that was out there. And once you were past the hurdle of the Vancouver job, that he was not going to remain with Vancouver, was not going to sign on there long-term with a new contract, and he truly became a free agent in the coaching circle, that's when it became more realistic. And sure seems like, after that, we're about a couple weeks or so after that decision became official and Tocchet was actually available, that now this is about to happen. So it didn't take too long. It really picked up over the course of the early part of this week that things were really going there. There was kind of he did some TV work over the weekend on TNT, and there was a finality to his exit from the weekend. Kind of like, this was fun to do it again for a weekend, and you just could see the signs coming.
Let's start with why Tocchet. He has been all over the place, and I wouldn't say that he has a boatload of success as a head coach. He has been in Vancouver. He has been in Phoenix. That was a disastrous situation there. I don't know if that's all his fault, but why is Rick Tocchet the hire here?
Well, he's got a good reputation in the coaching circle in terms of just among NHL front offices. There's people who are very high on him on the inside of that think he's a great communicator. He's got a loyalty to him that players really latch on to. He was, in addition to all the head coaching jobs, he was an assistant coach in Pittsburgh as well for a few years under Mike Sullivan when they won back-to-back Stanley Cups. So you come back to names like, Sidney Crosby loved playing for him, and Quinn Hughes in Vancouver loved playing for him. Those are superstar level players. And that's what makes you believe that this can work with, say, a player like Matvei Michkov, who, if you can latch on to a guy like that and have that good relationship with your superstars, it can only breed more potential success because you can bring in potentially bigger names. To me, it's also about the culture building. He establishes a reputation for that as well. It's not going to be to the same level that, as Danny Briere said at the end of the season press conference, anybody they bring in is going to be milder than John Tortorella, but I don't think you're taking that big of a step back from that, where you're getting somebody who is complete opposite of Tortorella. You're getting someone who's just has a softer side, is a good communicator in that respect, which is going to go a long way with kind of how things ended with Tortorella. But he's still going to be, tough on guys at times, and he's going to do what he has to do as a coach, and it's earned him respect. The hard part is that this is all he has, is that reputation and kind of the connection to the Flyers in the past and being part of that culture. He doesn't have the numbers or the successes. You coach for 9 different seasons, 3 different locations, one really good year where the Vancouver Canucks made the playoffs, won the division, and that's really about as far as it goes. We had one season where he technically made the playoffs in Phoenix. That was kind of, it just wasn't there. There's an asterisk on that one because it was during the COVID year that they added some extra teams to it. So he got in kind of on a technicality. And that's what people kind of latch on to from the other side of this, where it's maybe they don't get it because there's no track record of long-term success and really nothing to latch on to other than He is a former Flyer. He understands the culture. To me, I think that another reason why he's involved in this is kind of the same thing as Keith Jones and Danny Briere. These are two guys that have talked about, we know what it's like when it's good. We want to get back to that. And I think they're bringing in a guy who matches that mindset, that sees this as, I want to help get them back to where they were. And, you're thinking about a guy who was a player two different times in technically two different eras, during the 80s and then comes back in the early 2000s and finishes out his career. So he started his career in Philly, he ended his playing career in Philly, and now it comes back full circle as a head coach.
Kevin Durso, 97.3 ESPN.com, covers the Flyers. Rick Tocchet is the Flyers guy. He will be the next head coach here. If you're saying, okay, that's the reasons why, was there somebody out there that you think is more attractive, or do you think, no, this was the right hire for the Philadelphia Flyers?
It's not that I really saw somebody else that stood out above and beyond. My worry is kind of along the lines of the average tenure of a head coach in the NHL. It was posted recently somewhere that the average tenure of all the four major sports, and most of them are 3 to 4 years, and then the NHL came up and it was under 2, because that's the way it's been lately. Just so much turnover. Even if Tocchet gets another 3 years, to work with here, and he's already, he's 61 years old, so he's already kind of maybe going toward the end of the line in terms of what he might be able to do from a career standpoint around the game like that. It's not to say that I don't know how much impact he can make in that short period of time, but it leaves you with kind of a limited window to make this happen. I feel like for Keith Jones and Danny Briere, this journey started not necessarily just by them taking the job, but you drafted Matvei Michkov with your first draft pick as this regime. And that first year that Michkov didn't play and was still overseas, okay, it doesn't really affect the timeline too much. But once you brought him over and now his timeline starts going, just go 2 years down the line here where potentially, let's just say you're coming up on that critical third year with Tocchet as the head coach, where a lot of guys sometimes don't make it through the third year as a head coach. Jones and Briere will be on their 5th offseason after 2 seasons under Tocchet. They will, Michkov will be due for a contract because he'll be through the 3 years of his entry-level deal. And to me, if you're 5 off seasons into Jones and Briere overseeing this thing and not much further along than you are now, then they are just as much on the line. So to me, this is a big thing for the whole regime, because it really puts everybody, not just puts jobs on the line, but to me, this puts their reputations on the line because of the connections. Keith Jones was beloved as a broadcaster. Danny Briere was a fan favorite. Now you bring in a guy like Tocchet, who's in the Flyers Hall of Fame. These guys have long-standing relationships, and I think back to the way things ended with Ron Hextall and how after a certain point in time, if it doesn't go well and it just doesn't, if this is, turns out to be destined to fail, it's going to ruin the reputation of those guys in the light of the fan base, because they'll see them for the most recent occurrence, not the history. So it's a big risk. To me, it's a gamble that you're taking. You're trying to lean on the culture side of this. You're trying to lean on the guys who understand things, but you're taking a risk in the process.
So when you hire a guy like this, does this say development or does this say win now?
It says development in the immediate, because I don't think they have the roster for it. So they think he can teach some of the younger guys on the roster. That would have to be part of the equation. But it does sound a lot like the kick this into high gear in another offseason kind of move. I don't know that they're going to go too overly aggressive this offseason, because you have to start to factor in the idea of what the cost might be to be that aggressive. You have to be certain. To me, this is the first, making this coaching decision is the first of a series of decisions that are going to have to be made, whether it's the 6th overall pick, the other draft picks this year, any trades you make, any free agent signings you make, whether you do an offer sheet. You've got to get pretty much all of these decisions right. And the coach is the start of it. And then you have to start to fill in all these other gaps with what the roster looks like. And if you're not able to do that, then I don't think this is going to last too long for everybody involved, if that's the case. So I think that it's going to be go time very quickly here. I don't know about this offseason, but certainly by next offseason, they need to start turning the corner on this. And that, to me, speeds this up. So that to me is why they feel comfortable doing this. They think he can be a good communicator and teach, but they also think he can still be here when it's go time.
All right, Kevin Durso, I guess we'll leave with this. I mean, obviously the free agency, that won't begin until after the playoffs, and but the most important guy is Michkov, who I guess was in an accident the other day. I would imagine they think that Michkov and Tocchet will have similar a personality that will blend. I'm sure that had to be something that was in at high priority here. Someone that will be able to take Michkov to that next level.
Yeah, and there's people who, there's people out there who have doubts about that because Tocchet has a similar style to Tortorella to a degree, and at least on ice sometimes. But at the same time, I can't see how Keith Jones and Danny Briere go into this process and don't ask all the important questions here and make sure that this is the right fit for that player in particular, but anybody else who comes up, whether it's anybody you drafted last year, who you draft this year, you need to be prepared for that part of the equation because that is your future. And, Michkov's a big part of it. The one thing that I do think lines up perfectly here is they're both going to be competitive mindsets. They're both going to be, Tocchet loves guys who have that dedication level to the game that seem like they're, that are all in personalities. Michkov's definitely that. He'll love that about him. And then you just have to kind of see and hope that they unlock all of that potential in him from the offensive side, really, because you can lean on the defensive side of the game for so much, but at some point in time, you also need your star players to go out and have the type of things we've seen. If you're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs this year and you're watching the numbers that Mikko Rantanen's putting up or sometimes the plays Connor McDavid's making and these game changers out there that can do that, if you have a game changer on your roster like Michkov appears to be, then you want him to be able to let loose and do whatever it is that he can do. So you hope that there's not too many training wheels on him with Tocchet and that you can go forward with this and see the development come to complete fruition here. And that certainly would be, to me, that would be like the first point that you would bring up in an interview process here would be making sure that all aligns so that you are bringing in the right guy from the start.
Kevin Durso, plenty more on the website. Go to 973ESPN.com. And, of course, the Flyers, your home for Flyers hockey, 97.3 ESPN, our sister station, Rock 104 Run. They're going to have Rick Tocchet behind the bench. And, of course, that will change things for this team moving forward when free agency and everything happens. Kevin Durso on the X platform at Kevin_Durso. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
All right, as always, Kevin Durso here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Watch the show on your TV, at home, phone, tablet, or device. Go to youtube.com/@MikeGillShow and on the X platform @MikeGillShow. So Rick Tocchet, I know a lot of people would say, yeah, I mean, people in the building pumped up about Tocchet coming back. Other people might say, wow, the Flyers go down that road again. They brought back a Flyers guy. Was that the way that you wanted it? Bring back someone from the Flyers family. Tortorella, they went outside the family a little bit. So this one, they come back and bring in an old Flyer. So Flyers kind of going back to their roots, if you will. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 344 Sports Bash. Phil's win. Jordan Romano comes in, gets the save, strikes out a couple of guys. Man, he looked nasty doing so. A couple of nasty sliders. Romano, are we starting to believe in Jordan Romano as the closer of this team? He's had a bunch of good outings back to back to back there, Josh. Are we on the Romano train? You good with Romano now? And Kirkering, by the way, came in the 8th and maybe had the biggest most impressive performance out of all the guys. He had second and third. They brought him in a key situation, and he gets 2 outs in the 8th. So Kirkering in the 8th, Romano in the 9th, and the Phillies beat the Cardinals in Game 1, 2-1. And Jesus Luzardo, your starting pitcher, gets you 7. Alvarado comes in the 8th. Couldn't get out of the 8th. They go to Kirkering. He gets 2, and then Romano closes it down in the 9th.
I'm just happy to see Romano is actually pitching well again, because some of those early games were like
he looks much more comfortable.
He looks more comfortable. He looks more like calm. His mechanics don't look as wacky. But to me, Kirkering has actually been bigger than Romano, because getting Kirkering to come in that game in that situation meant on second and third, and he didn't let anyone move up. That was an amazing job by him.
No, bringing him in that spot, I saw people saying, all right, Phillies are about to lose the lead. They bring Kirkering in the game, and, they get the win there as Kirkering gets the job done. And look, if those two guys can pitch the way they did, then the way they pitched today, if you can continue to get that, Kirkering in the 8th, Romano in the 9th, key high-pressure outs, that's a different bullpen all of a sudden.
Now, the only problem, Mike, is those 3 guys will not be available for tonight's game.
They won't be, but you might win 5-0. You might not need them. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who's pitching tonight? It is Nola.
Nola's pitching tonight. Thank God Real Muto will be available for him.
Yeah, so Marchand caught the early game today. All right, so that's quick on that. So Romano gets the save tonight. I guess Luzardo got the win today?
Yes.
Were they winning when he left the game in the 7th?
Let me double-check, because I thought let me double-check that, because I thought it was still tied at that point, actually.
He left in the 7th, so he gave them 7 strong. They brought Alvarado in, and Alvarado had to get replaced there with, I think it was 2 outs. I think Kirkering had to get 2 outs in the 8th inning there. But the big innings
Luzardo did get the win.
So Luzardo gets the win, and Romano gets the save. Yeah, Luzardo goes to 4-0 on the season. He is 4-0 with an ERA of 2 on the nose. He threw 100 pitches today, so they're starting to work him up a little bit now as well. But they took him out of the game in after 7. Alvarado, by the way, he came in through 1/3 of an inning. Then Kirkering came in, got 2/3 of an inning. He got a strikeout, and Romano struck out the side. I thought he struck out 2 out of 3, but he struck out the side, and he lowered his ERA to 8.22. Pretty bad ERA-wise. But 13 pitches, 10 strikes for Romano.
Yeah.
So Phil's win and Romano. By the way, the Eagles' schedule is pretty much out. Here we go. Opening night, Dallas. Kansas City, week 2. The Rams in Philadelphia, week 3. Tampa Bay on the road, week 4.
Again, by the way. Feels like Tampa every year.
In September.
Week 4.
Yeah, you got to go down there and play. Late September.
It's always in Tampa, too. What's up with that?
Always feels like you're at Tampa. Home against Denver, week 5. Thursday night against the Giants, week 6 on the road. Week 7 at Minnesota. Week 8, home against the Giants. Week 9, bye week. So that's the first week of November. It looks like November 2nd, which will be daylight savings time.
Which is also around the trade deadline for the NFL.
Week 10, at Green Bay on a Monday night. Week 11, Detroit. Week 12, at Dallas. So you got Detroit and Dallas. Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas. Back to back to back.
And you get Dallas before their Thanksgiving Day game.
Week 13, Chicago. That is the Black Friday game. Week 14.
Really quick, it is interesting that the Eagles and Cowboys will both have short weeks that week after playing each other.
That's right. They'll play Sunday, then Dallas on Thursday, Philadelphia on Friday against Chicago. Week 14 at the Chargers. Week 15.
By the way, that might be a good weekend for you Eagle fans out there who like to travel. December, Los Angeles, nicer weather. Just putting it out there.
It's a Monday night, the Charger game.
Still.
December the 8th. So it's before the holiday. It's a Monday night. It's tough to go out to L.A. for a Monday night.
True, but still, people have much more flexible lives than you and
That
I
could be
do.
big, though, because the Eagle fans traveled big time to the Chargers the last time they played.
Yep.
And now if it's a Monday night, will they be less inclined to travel out there in December?
I have faith in Eagle fans.
Week 15, home against Vegas.
Interesting.
Chip Kelly back in Philly.
Chip Kelly back in Philly, yeah.
Week 16, at Washington on a Saturday.
That's the Fox doubleheader on Saturday.
Week 17, at Buffalo.
Cold night. Or
Week
cold day.
18, home against Washington. And that looks like your 2025 Philadelphia Eagles schedule. Dallas to start. Kansas City, the Rams, Denver. That's 4. Well, Dallas was not a playoff team last year.
Right, not a playoff team.
So you got a division game, and then Kansas City, the Rams, Tampa Bay, Denver. That's 4 out of 5 games to open the season against playoff teams from last year. Dallas is the only non-playoff team there. It's
Yeah.
pretty tough. I mean, Dallas, I think, is going to be much improved.
They'll be improved, yes. I don't know how about much improved, but we'll see.
Well, they won 7 games last year with Cooper Rush. How many wins do you give them is Dak Prescott worth?
Well, to me, it's less about Dak Prescott. It's about the head coach. I think that we don't know what Brian Schottenheimer is going to be. I mean, this guy could be great, or he could be like Jason Garrett and be like a 500 coach.
Well, their defense was a big problem with the injuries last year. They're
That's
healthier
true.
on the defensive side of the ball.
But they did lose DeMarcus Lawrence.
They did lose DeMarcus Lawrence.
He's now in Seattle.
Mhm.
So, they might be healthier, but they lost a big piece in the middle.
I think their team, just getting Dak Prescott back as the quarterback,
Is the stabilizer.
I think that at least flips you from 7 wins to 10 wins.
Okay, so you think Dak's worth 3 more wins?
Well, I think Cooper Rush is just, he is what he is.
yeah.
So
Again, I still have questions about Brian Schottenheimer.
I don't have any answers to those questions either, to be honest with you.
No one does.
Nobody has any answers to this. At Kansas City, the Rams, Tampa Bay, Denver. 4 straight playoff games.
That's a gauntlet.
The Giants, Minnesota, the Giants. That's a stretch there where it's,
A bit of a reprieve.
okay, Minnesota was a playoff team last year.
But they are starting a rookie quarterback this year coming off a major injury.
That's right. So Minnesota, I think, takes a step back. I think the Giants take a step forward. I don't know about a significant step forward.
They'll be more competitive.
Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas.
That's a fascinating run coming out of the bye week.
Out of the bye. Playoff team Green Bay, playoff team Detroit, Dallas. Chicago on the Black Friday. Chicago is a non-playoff team.
By the way, second straight year, the Eagles have a game on a Friday.
Yes, that is accurate. Brazil game.
That's correct.
Good pull. Chargers, Vegas, Washington, Buffalo, Washington. That's another tough stretch. Washington, the NFC Championship rematch, an AFC Championship team, and then the NFC Championship rematch again. Plus the Chargers are in there, who went to the playoffs last year.
And by the way, the Raiders will be better this year. I'm telling you right now, they will be much better than last year.
I don't know. I mean, the Raiders and the 2 Giant games, they're the worst teams on your schedule. Every other team, except for Dallas,
It's a playoff team.
made the playoffs last year, right? Am I getting that right? Every other team on the schedule other than Dallas, Vegas, and the 2 Giant games, Every other team made the playoffs last year. All right, football at 4 is coming up next on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Geoff Mosher's in the house. We'll talk a little Eagles with him. We'll get his take on the way the schedule kind of shaped up next here. Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast will join us in just a couple of moments now. We'll talk some birds with him. The full schedule is pretty much out now. I mean, it's not confirmed, but for the most part, all the games have been leaked out. I don't want that. Can I not have all the leaks? Can we do something to give me some anticipation? You know, they have all these shows tonight. I want to watch the show with some anticipation. All the games are out. The Eagles' schedule has pretty much been released all the way. We just got the Christmas Day games, by the way. Have you seen these?
The Netflix game?
Yes.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. What is
Two
it?
Netflix games. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
As I'm saying, I want the anticipation.
Can we get a drum roll?
The two teams that play on Thanksgiving will also play on Christmas.
Interesting. Okay.
Not against each other.
Of course not.
But they're flipped. Normally, the Lions are the early game
right.
on Thanksgiving. They will play the late game on Christmas at 4:30 against the Vikings.
Interesting.
And on Christmas Day at 1 o'clock, it is the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders.
Wow. So the Commanders, they kind of did stick with the formula. The Commanders play a game on Saturday, and then they will play on Christmas.
Yes. Many people thought that the Eagles, who also play on that Saturday against Washington, would play on Christmas Day.
But instead, the Eagles get extra time off because they get to play on Sunday.
Right. So now the Cowboys and the Lions both will play on Thanksgiving and on Christmas. If you are a Cowboy fan or a Lion fan, how you feel about that?
Well, also, really quick, Mike, if you're an Eagles fan, you just got a blessing because now you have a rough month of December, but you're not playing on short rest like Washington is. So now you might have a game in hand over Washington at the end of December just because you got more time off than them.
I did not see who are the Thanksgiving Day matchups. The Christmas schedule, by the way, there are 3 games. Here they are. It is Cowboys Commanders, Vikings Lions. They are the 2 Netflix games.
Right, and then the prime game.
Amazon game is Broncos Chiefs.
Correct.
For the night game.
And by the way, it's going to be Cowboys Chiefs on Thanksgiving.
I did see that. That is a banger of a game.
Chiefs are going to murder them.
They might. I'm not ready to go that far. You're really not a big. You're down on the Cowboys.
I'm down on Dallas for sure.
I think they are significantly better than last year. You'd have to be an idiot to not think they made a huge jump forward by just getting the quarterback healthy. If you told me,
yes, the quarterback being healthy is a huge part of the equation. But to me, I've watched enough football to know that the quarterback does not mean everything. At the end of the day,
tell that to Cleveland, tell that to Vegas, tell that to teams that are on the hamster wheel of trying to find a quarterback.
That's great for them. But at the end of the day, I still have questions about Dallas's offensive line.
I think their offensive line has questions. I think it'll be improved. Now, listen, I get it. If Booker isn't a number 1 pick level player and he's a bust, fine. I think their offensive line, if healthy, they've had some injury issues.
They have.
I think as healthy, that line is good, not great. But getting Pickens gives them something they haven't had on that team in a long time, which is a second option in the pass game. And again, I go back to Prescott. To me, is light years better than Cooper Rush stinks.
And I agree about that.
So Cooper Rush, the difference between Rush and Prescott to me, I think I'm being kind by saying it's a 3-game flip.
Well, again, I also go back to I believe George Pickens going to implode that team.
I'm going off talent alone. I'm not taking the intangible of a guy going into a locker room and blowing it up. I don't know that will happen. It could.
And listen, I could be totally wrong. George Pickens could go to Dallas to be a model citizen, and they could score 35 points a game, and Dallas would win 10 games, and I'd be wrong.
Yeah, I'm going off of what they did to upgrade their talent. To me, they had a stretch of games where their defense last year had so many injuries. They got blasted 47-9, 30-24.
And you are right. The defense was injured a lot last year.
Yeah, they got bombed. But in the stretch, they lost 47-9, 30-24, 27-21, 34-6, 34-10. I mean, they got bombed in that 5-game losing streak there. coincided when they had a lot of injuries. When they got healthy on defense, they won 4 out of 5 games. And, I think getting Prescott back makes them – they went 7-10 without Dak Prescott last year for most of the season. I got to imagine they're at least a 10-7 team.
I still think that DeMarcus Lawrence loss is a big loss for that defense, and I think that is going to show up in a big way.
Yeah, and listen, I think the Chiefs, obviously, they took a step back last year. I don't know. Do we think that the Chiefs are another 14-win team?
I think that they improved their offensive line from last year. They at least on paper it looks better. We'll see how it actually plays out on the field. And I'm going to assume that the additions they've made on defense are going to have some level of impact because of who the coaching staff is.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. A couple other things. We got the Eagles' schedule, which is pretty much out. So I was saying do we have the 3 Thanksgiving Day games? Philadelphia is not playing on Thanksgiving, correct?
No.
So it is Dallas,
Kansas
City. Who are the Lions playing? So the Lions and the Cowboys are playing on Christmas and Thanksgiving this year.
Correct. Both Thursdays.
And who are the Lions playing on Thanksgiving Day? Do we have that yet? I mean, I would imagine that those were announced probably singularly, right? They probably dropped them. They had to have made the Thanksgiving Day announcements at some point. I would imagine those things are already put out there. The Lions are the early game on Thanksgiving, as always. Let's see, Thanksgiving Lions. We got who are the Lions playing on Thanksgiving? That's funny because Thanksgiving and Christmas are both trending. They're both trending. For the first time since 1999, the Lions will play on both Christmas and Thanksgiving. Oh, they're playing Green Bay. There you go. So Detroit's playing Green Bay on Thanksgiving. Were you having trouble finding that?
Well, according to one website, it had TBD for who they were playing. And apparently the NBC night game on Thanksgiving has not been announced yet.
I was going to say, I know Dallas and the Lions are playing, but who's the night game?
Yeah, it doesn't say on this. According to USA Today, they don't have the
Actually, this says Green Bay, and this one says Pittsburgh. So I don't know who the Lions are playing yet. We do know that they did announce the Cowboy game, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying on USA Today, they don't have that information yet. Doesn't mean it's not out there. I mean, these websites are sometimes delayed in being updated.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. But what I was saying was I hate all the leaks. I don't want all the leaks. So what they need to do is on Monday, release all the Monday Night Football games. On Tuesday, release all the Sunday Night Football games. On Wednesday, release all the international games and all of the other stuff. The international games, the Black Friday game, the Saturday game, all of those like special window games. Then on Thursday, release the Thursday Night Football games. And then on Friday, release the whole schedule. That's the way you do it. Now, I know they probably like the fact that Wednesday is a better television window, but really, I mean, come on. You put the thing on Friday night, release all the games, and then every night of the week you can have a release. Hey, Monday night, we're going to release the Monday Night Football schedule. ESPN comes on and releases their Monday Night Football schedule, and they go game by game. Hey, week 1, Monday Night Football. We got Vikings and Bears, which is, by the way, the Monday Night Football game in week number 1. I said this morning, I think the NFL, the Bears to me are going to be this year's Jets from a couple of years ago. They're going to be all over the prime times.
Oh, okay. You don't mean in terms of how they're going to play. You mean in terms of
I
their
think the
schedule.
I think the primetime networks, the Bears are going to be the team that you're like,
Gotcha.
Why did they put the Bears on so much? But I think the Bears are actually going to be good this year. And
They're
I'm not a
definitely
big
gonna be
Caleb
better.
Williams guy either.
But they replaced their entire offensive line.
Well,
they did an incredible job investing in that line.
I like the fact that they updated the line, and I like the coach.
The coach is intriguing to me because, Ben Johnson really only has success with one quarterback that, we're really familiar with, and that's Jared Goff. So I'm not fully sure what happens when you put him and Caleb Williams in the same room.
Mike, most Eagle fans are thinking a road trip. Tampa will be overrun again with Eagles fans. Josh is spot on. We are considering a vacation to L.A. Love to check out SoFi. I heard the stadium's amazing. Yes, I heard the stadium is absolutely unbelievable. It is, and it is in December, too, so it's kind of getting colder here.
Warm's there still.
And it's nice out there. It's December the 8th, though. It's a Monday night game. That Charger game is a Monday night football game. Let's quickly.
I wonder if the Sixers will have a road game out there that weekend too. Maybe get tuned into a big sports weekend.
Now you really go looking ahead. Could maybe get a Flyer King game there with Rick Tocchet.
That's usually the end of the month. The Flyers have that road trip though. End of December.
Can I get an Eagles? See if I can get an Eagles full schedule, like all in one spot here, so I can see the road trips here. Let's see. Here we go. The Eagles bye week, by the way, is 9. Here we go. So road trip at Kansas City in September, at Tampa Bay late September, at the Giants on a Thursday night, at Minnesota I guess that looks like in week 7 would be sometime in October.
October, yeah.
Bye week is 9, at the Packers in week 10, so that's early November in Green Bay.
So it might still not be too cold if you wanted to make that trek.
Mm-hmm. At the Cowboys in week 12, at the Chargers Monday night.
That's the one I circled.
At Commanders, at the Bills. You don't want to go to Buffalo December 28th. But I will say real quick, Thursday night football, Monday night football, Sunday night football, Black Friday, Monday night football. So they have, and then the Saturday game. They have 7 right now, as listed. They have 7 non-Sunday games. Well, Sunday afternoon games, because some of those are Sunday night. So it looks like only one Sunday night game. I'm a little surprised by that. And they got 2 Monday night games, Green Bay and the Chargers. I only see one Sunday night football game. I'm a little surprised by that. I figure that Sunday night football would definitely take them a few more times. I figured that you would get that. All right. Geoff Mosher is here for today's Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Mosher, I do want to start. The entire Eagles schedule seems to be out. I don't want the schedule out. I want the anticipation. Give it to me tonight. I think they need to section it off by days.
Do you actually watch the show? Do you watch?
Hold on, you are. Oh, that's my fault. Go ahead.
I was saying, do you actually watch the show? Do you waste your time with that?
No, I don't. But it's like, I don't know.
I much prefer it this way. I don't watch the show, and maybe that's because I'm a reporter. But I don't know. I can't even imagine as a fan sitting down watching a show about a schedule being released. But I haven't been in that chair for quite a while, you know?
Well, listen, I mean, the whole, I want it all at one time. I don't want, this reporter having one leak, that report. Then I don't know where I'm going. I want it all in a compartmentalized box. So I think on Monday, release all the Monday night football games. On Tuesday, release all the Sunday night football games. On Wednesday, do all the international games, your Black Fridays, your holidays, all of that stuff. Then on Thursday, do the Thursday night football games. And then on Friday, the whole shebang. Here you go. You make a whole week out of this thing.
You know what? I wrote this in my Philly Voice column the other day. I'm darn near surprised that the NFL doesn't drag this thing out till 2 weeks before the season. And on August 25th, when the whole schedule is. So
right.
I think from the NFL standpoint, to think about it from a publicity standpoint, the way the NFL does, and owning the day, right? By having it this way, where it's leaked all day for the younger generation who's mostly spending their entire day, quote unquote working, but also on social media. And then you're going to get a bunch of the older generation who will actually watch it at night. So I don't think they get hurt by the ratings that much. They appeal to they reach 2 different audiences from 8 in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, and then a whole different one at 8 o'clock at night. So they really captivate the whole day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is like not a lot of people are sitting there like me on Twitter all day long just seeing all the releases. Geoff Mosher, you mentioned your Philly Voice article. Let's start with that. Dallas. I was a little surprised they picked Dallas. By the way, Dallas, it just got announced. They are playing on Thanksgiving and on Christmas, and so are the Lions are playing on Thanksgiving and Christmas. You're getting Dallas, Washington on Christmas morning or Christmas one. It's funny. The Lions play 1 o'clock on Thanksgiving, and Dallas plays at 4. On Christmas, they're flipping. Dallas is playing at 1, and Detroit's playing at 4. But you're getting some really big, important games for Dallas there. But are you surprised that they picked Dallas to be the kickoff game for the Eagles to start the regular season?
Well, it's a big year for the Cowboys, Mike, and the NFL recognizes that. This will be – by the end of the year, they'll be celebrating their 30th year of not winning a Super Bowl. And for that – the NFL decided to reward them in the lead up with a lot of primetime games so that we can all discuss that this will be the 30th year that they haven't won a Super Bowl. And it's really a perfect platform to be able to do that by putting them on as many primetime games that they don't deserve as possible. So I guess I'm not surprised.
They're getting the full allotment of primetime games.
Yeah, this year is like the world's I said this to Josh the other day. It's like the longest pity party that the NFL is throwing for Jerry Jones because they know his team's not going to be in the Super Bowl. So you might as well, put him on, make him feel better and put him on prime time as much as possible because we can make fun all you want. I'm clearly doing that, but they are a ratings king. And so if you know that they're not going to be helping you out in the ratings from January to mid-February, then you might as well get them as many times as you can between September and December. I feel like that might be the strategy.
Okay, well, I was a little surprised they went there. I thought they had a lot of intriguing options that people will watch because it's the opener that still had some storyline. I thought the Bears were an option. Obviously, Washington in a rematch. I do want to get some thoughts on the way they did this. What about a Week 2 Chiefs game? I mean, the Super Bowl rematch, bam, right in Week 2.
Yeah, how about that? And this is, interesting thing is, the last time the Eagles played the Chiefs in Week 2 in Arrowhead was 2017. They lost that game, the Eagles did, but then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So if you're a believer in some kind of repetitive history, then that's pretty good. But it doesn't – listen, like if you really boil it down, most of your AFC games, if you're an NFC team, come in the first half of the schedule. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they're facing in Week 2.
Well, you got a rematch with the Rams in Week 3. And then, as you said, it seems that they play at Tampa in September every single year, and they will be in Tampa again in Week 4, September 28th, to play the Buccaneers. And, I mean, it's like, I'm looking through the schedule. They only play 2 teams. They have the Dallas games, the Giant games, and then the Vegas game against non-playoff teams.
Yeah, that's interesting. The only thing that's missing so far from the schedule is if the Eagles are playing the Chiefs in Week 2, we got to figure out a way for the Chiefs to trade for Kirk Cousins and somehow a way for Kirk Cousins to beat out Patrick Mahomes for the job so that for the third or fourth straight year, the Eagles can play Kirk Cousins on a primetime game in Week 2. And for a different team, that would be unbelievable. Minnesota, Atlanta, Kansas City. Let's keep this streak going because it's been pretty good for the Eagles. Well, actually, the Atlanta game was not good for the Eagles, but in general, it's been good.
Right, you're right about that. Geoff Mosher, Football for bye week number 9. Last year was week 5, and that was an early for a Super Bowl championship team. Now you get it right smack in the middle. But out of that bye, Moshe, at Green Bay Monday night, against the Lions on Sunday night, Dallas for a second time, Bears on Black Friday, Chargers Monday night. So you got a little stretch there with a lot of prime time games, get you out of your routine. That's going to be an important stretch out of that bye.
It would be. It's that is probably one of the there are some. I think September is a brutal stretch based on what's out there. With the Chiefs and you mentioned the Bucs and opening. Dallas might be the easiest one. We'll see who else they have to play. But September seems rough. That's a rough schedule. I think it's weird. I saw a Giants reporter, Art Stapleton, I think from the what's the North Jersey paper, Bergen County paper. Good friend, Art. He does a great job. I think that his report says that the Eagles are playing the Giants twice in a 3-week span, right?
Yeah, so this is interesting. The Eagles will play the Giants in week 6 on Thursday night. They'll play at the Giants on Thursday night. Then they play at the Vikings in week 7, and then they're home against the Giants in week 8. So they play the Giants 2 out of 3 weeks. They also play the Commanders in week 16, then the Bills, and then the Commanders. So they're playing the NFC runner-up, the AFC runner-up, and the NFC runner-up in 3 consecutive weeks.
Yeah, I just think listen, I know you can't avoid some quirks and they happen, but I think playing two different division rivals twice in a 3-week span in one season sucks. I think that's honestly.
You're right. I mean, and then they play Dallas in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're done with the Giants by week 8. They play Dallas again in week 12. So you have no division games other than the Commanders the last 3 weeks of the year. So the division might be very interestingly situated because they don't play against each other, Philadelphia, Dallas, and the Giants, by the time you get to week 16.
Yeah, and I kind of think that Buffalo game, you said week 7, that's what, week 17?
Week 17, you have to go to Buffalo. December 28th at Buffalo.
Sometimes those games wind up not really meaning something because you may already have something locked up or tiebreakers. So,
and you would think Buffalo is a heavy favorite in the AFC East, that they might be 2, 3, 4 games up on, Miami or New England or the Jets.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, that's it's easy for us to sit here right now, but I just see the potential of that. And man, I feel bad for the Eagle fan who likes to go travel to all the road games, because I would not want. I love outdoor football. I love elements, but going to Buffalo on whatever day that is in December, God, that could be a disaster for a weather game,
Yeah. 7 games, by the way, Geoff Mosher, that are not a Sunday afternoon. A Thursday, a Monday, a Sunday night, a Black Friday, another Monday night, and then a Saturday game. So there are 7 instances where they are not playing a Sunday 1 or 4 o'clock game. And I would imagine a lot of these games – are going to be in that 425 window as well. Obviously, Eagles-Chiefs, that'll be a 425. I would think Eagles-Rams feels like 425. I would think that Eagles-Cowboys the second time is a 425. I would think that Eagles-Bills games would be a 425.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be able to sleep in on Sundays in the fall and not worry about missing those Eagles games, or either that or just get to the tailgate a few hours earlier than they normally would. Listen, this is the price you pay when you're good. Like, you get a lot of prime time. I mean, the Chiefs had to deal with this last year, and they went 15-1.
Jeez.
So there's going to be stories written about, primetime games. There's going to be much made about, like, per se, the lack of rest that they get compared to another team that might get more, and the short turnarounds. That's all, to me, none of that matters. Or how many teams you're playing coming off a bye in comparison. Who cares? Who cares? If you're good, you win football games.
That's true. Listen, the quirkiness of the setup, as you mentioned, though, the fact that you have 2 division games within 3 weeks twice, and as somebody mentioned, the Bears also were not a playoff team last year, so that's a third team that did not make the playoffs. So you got Giants twice, did not make the playoffs. Dallas twice, they did not make the playoffs. The Raiders did not make the playoffs, and the Bears. So there's your non-playoff games. But most of the teams that are on this schedule were playoff teams last year. That doesn't mean they'll be playoff teams again. But the 2 teams, the 2 out of 3 games late in the year, Commanders in week 16 and Commanders in week 18, that could be a big final 3 weeks of the season for Philadelphia. Football at 4, Geoff Mosher, Philly voice, and, of course, the Inside the Birds podcast right here on a Wednesday edition of Football at 4. All right, Mosher, it sounds like you're being summoned.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks.
All right, see ya. There you go. Geoff Mosher, Football at 4, here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Jonathan checks in. He's watching on YouTube. Sunday Night Football technically has week 1 game, Eagles-Cowboys, so there are 2 Sunday Night Footballs. Yeah, it's the Sunday Night Football crew, but the game is played on a Thursday. But you're right. Technically, it is a Sunday night broadcast, but the game being played on Thursday night. So it's not a Amazon Thursday Night Football game, Jonathan. You are correct. 2 points for you. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. The 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. When we come back, today's Nuggets are back. Earnshaw has today's Knicks Nuggets edition on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and live video on the Twitter X platform at Mike Gill Show. Follow there. and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Subscribe and follow. Go to our website, 973ESPN.com. Phillies win 2-1. They got game 2 coming up tonight. It's Aaron Nola pitching for the Phils. We'll have more details coming up later on. Plus, my conversation with Sixers head coach Nick Nurse tonight at 5:30 on the Sports Bash. All right, 432 Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video on the X platform, Twitter X at Mike Gill Show, YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Nuggets are here. Time for the Nuggets. They're brought to you by The Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. Nick Earnshaw is host of the Shift podcast, and he is the locker room producer, weekends right here on 97.3 ESPN. Phils win game 1, 2-1. Looks like the entire Eagles schedule has been released. We got all that. We have the Nick Nurse stuff from yesterday. We're going to replay that interview tonight at 5:30 for those of you who missed it. What do we got on the Nuggets today?
Oh, my goodness. Good afternoon, Mike Gill. A lot to get to today. Lots of stuff to talk about. I was going to save this nugget for like nugget number 3, but I'm bumping it back up to nugget number 1 because you invoked it during Mosher's segment at Football at 4. I am so with you. I had this written down the Nuggets to start the day. How the NFL is handling the schedule release. Credit to them. You know, they've made a schedule release interesting. All right. They got a show about it. Credit to them. But I can't take the leaks, the games here and there, all different reporters coming out. You got to piece it together. I am with you 1,000% on this. The NFL needs to stagger it. No leaks, nothing. Have it throughout the week. Announce like your the Monday night games, the holiday games. Then you got to go through the rest of the schedule and have the schedule released at one day. The leaks and stuff all over the place. It's very confusing, and sometimes they get it wrong. And then once it finally comes out, then you have the full schedule. I am so with you. I can't have the NFL just putting out games here and there, leak this, leak that. It's too much. It's all over the place. It's scattered, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know who to, where to go. Then people are putting them out. Yeah. Then it's like confirmed, not confirmed, reported. I mean, just hold your horses. I think they should do all the Monday night games on a Monday night, do a Monday night prime time. Here's the Monday night football schedule. Break down all the games. There you go. Tuesday night, give me Sunday night football, all the games. Wednesday, give me all the international games, the holidays, the days that are not Sunday, Black Friday, all of that stuff. Then on Thursday, you get the Amazon games. Then on Friday, you release the full schedule. It gives you a whole week worth of games. Bang. Lay them out like that. Today, I'm going crazy. I'm all over the place, looking here, looking there, upside down, all around, trying to figure it out.
And then you have people on social media who are trying to piece it together, right? They put the entire week 1 through 18, through 17, 18 weeks of the schedule, right? And they fill in the blanks. Now you got people filling in the blanks with different reports. It's become like a game all of a sudden throughout social media. So that's throwing me off because some people's fill in the blanks are different than other people's fill in the blanks. I can't keep track of this. We got to get more organized here. I can't have one guy over here reporting this guy reporting that. I'm going nuts today.
Yeah, I know that you put out somebody put out the Christmas games, all right? So you got the Christmas games, but they don't have – I couldn't find where the Thanksgiving games are released. Like, why give me the Christmas ones and not the Thanksgiving ones? Just give it to me all in one nice box. That's what I want.
Right.
I want it all compartmentalized.
And I had to come at you a little bit today on the X platform. You were trying to figure out, the Eagles going to play on Thanksgiving. Like, well, they're playing on Black
job
Friday.
by me. Bad job by me.
No good.
I took 2 points away from me. That was bad.
Plus,
I totally forgot that the Eagles were playing on Black Friday, and then I thought that the Lions, were playing.
They're in Philly, right? Or no, like the Eagles were going to Detroit, but they're in Philly, right?
Yes,
I think that's
exactly right.
Oh,
so I totally had that messed up because I thought that the Eagles could have had the Lions and Eagles game on Thanksgiving with the Cowboys and Chiefs. And I said you could make it the most watched day of football in history to have Lions, Eagles, Chiefs, and Cowboys back to back like that. But I had forgot the Eagles were already playing on Black Friday, and the Lions were going to be in Philly, not Philly. So that was a bad job by me.
No, listen, it was a great thought. It was a fantastic thought. It's just you're trying to piece everything together here because it's all scattered. That's my issue. That's why I moved this nugget back up to 1 because I was like, I don't know where to go. It's all over the place. Let's get organization here. We got to get organized. Let's do what you said. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's have the holidays. Let's have the Sunday, the Monday. Let's get it all together in one. All right. Let's not go scatterbrain here because my brain's scattered enough already. Okay. Today, putting the pieces together like a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, it's been all over the place.
I'm surprised that the NFL hasn't thought about that by themselves. Hey, how can we maximize the whole week? Now, they do it where it's like, hey, the Today Show gets a game. Right. Good Morning America gets a game. They're trying to do it where each of these networks gets to release a big game for them, but just make a whole day out of it and just bang, do it like that. By the way, Phillies lineup is out for the second game tonight. Stott, Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Kepler, Realmuto, Bohm, Marsh, Nola. Is Marsh starting both games today of the double digit?
Yeah, both games from Marshy. All right, that'll segue us into nugget number 2. Phils win 2-1 in the first game of the double header. I mean, they're getting it in. It's raining. It's going to be raining all weekend, too. So you might get a couple of double headers. Who knows? The rain really starts coming down. But we do have something sad to report here, Mike, from the first game. Schwarber's on base streak ends at 47 games. It's over. I'm so disappointed. He was so close to Schmidt. 9 games to go. Couldn't get it. The rainy, the soggy out there. Couldn't get on base today. So it's rough. Now he might get on base in this game. Play 2 games in one day. It's unfair. It's unfair.
Yeah, if he does get on tonight, they say, hey, you got on for 48 straight game days.
Yeah. So, I mean, technically, if we want to get real technical, the game day thing, I mean, we could, but it doesn't happen. He doesn't get on base in the first game of the doubleheader today. So that streak has now come to an end. I'll tell you what, though, I had a couple of things that really irked me in the first game, and I heard you and Josh even invoke me earlier today about Marchand. What is Marchand doing on the base pass? That very irking. I'm not ready to send him down. I'm not ready to bring Stubbs back up yet. I'll relax a little bit on Marchand. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Bad base running, though. Not loving that at all, but he did get the RBI. Josh texted me saying, hey, he got the RBI, so relax. And he was safe at second, the whole thing. All right, Turner not getting a tag down, just little stuff like that. I know it's raining, but a couple of things irked me. They did get the win, however. Luzardo was dealing. I do like in the second game, though, that Nola gets Realmuto as his catcher. It's an interesting little nugget there that Marchand caught the first game, Realmuto catching the second game with Nola.
Yeah. And Rob Thompson mentioned that actually he was asked about it and said, kind of a comfort thing there. He said that he thought it would be a comfortable thing for Nola to have Realmuto, so that's why Marchand caught the early game today. Although it's weird. It doesn't seem to be bothering Luzardo.
No, it doesn't bother Luzardo at all, but Nola catches.
Tell you who else it didn't bother. Kirkering or Romano. Neither one of them guys. They came in and were dealing today, both those guys.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic, and they had a strong outing once again. Are we back in on Romano? That's the question, though. Are we starting to be like, okay, it was early in the season. He's coming off the injury from last year. Give him the benefit of the doubt. He's coming in. He's been pitching pretty well as of late. Pitches again today. It was really good. They actually I think they got him on the post-game show on the TV network.
Am I back in on him? Look, I like the signing of Romano when they did it. So I will be easier to woo back over for Romano. He had some sharp break today on that nasty slider. He had some nasty break on that thing today. And he had 3 strikeouts. He struck out the side, and he did it in 3 different ways. He blew a guy away with a 98-mile-per-hour fastball. He had the 85-mile-per-hour slide piece that was nasty. Then the last strikeout, that thing fell off the table, bouncing up there. Am I fully back in? No. But I'm more leaning towards I'm ready to go back in than I am this guy's unsalvageable.
Okay. All right. Listen, he pitched well again today. Your boy Kirkering also pitched well. 2/3 of an inning, had a strikeout, 9 pitches. Got to get him back and ease him back into it. He looked great today. But yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due. Bullpen came in, slammed the door. And Luzardo goes 100 pitches, 7 innings today, 5 hits, 1 earned. 2 walks, 6 Ks. I mean, Luzardo has been huge for this team. I mean, he looks fantastic in every start. It feels like he is must-see TV when he's pitching, Mike.
Luzardo has been arguably the best pitcher on the staff, right? I mean, right now it's hard to argue that he wouldn't be here. Now, I know Wheeler's going to get the ball in game one no matter what, and Wheeler's been really, really, really good. But Luzardo has been the most consistently good.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an ERA of 2 right now. I mean, that could dip in his next start. Who knows? But he's been fantastic. The pitching was great today. Listen, it's raining. I get it. Not a beautiful day to play a game of baseball. They got
Not a beautiful day to pitch, though, either.
No, it's not at all. So, listen, 2-1. They get the first game. Second game, Realmuto with Nola. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, Nola doesn't serve out a couple of meatballs. I mean, it's raining out. Come on. Can't give up a ton of home runs today if you're Aaron Nola. So, looking forward to that. Stott leading off in that one. Realmuto behind the dish. That'll be a fun one tonight. You get two games of baseball. You get the game during work hours. You get to watch it on your little phone, your tablet, in your office, and then you get to go home and watch baseball. I mean, you can't beat that, Mike.
Yeah, I don't get to see a lot of these day games when they're on here, so.
Yeah, you got the TV there, but you got the TV.
I got the TV, but it's behind me, so I'm like, I got to turn around.
I don't care about you. I'm talking about the audience. The audience gets to see it in their office, their car. You get 2 games of baseball, get to go home, watch it. It's double dipping day. All right, let's move along. Nugget number 3 here. Got to talk about the 76ers, and we'll get to Nurse in a second. But Paul George did a collab on the Pivot. Podcast P's back. I'm sure you're just thrilled to have Podcast P back, weekly episodes, whatever they come out with. But there was something that was interesting that he said on the latest episode. And I want to play that clip real quick because I thought it was fascinating as to why last season was so rough for him in his first year with the 76ers. Here is Paul George and what he said on Podcast P/The Pivot.
Every time I suited up, it was like, man, I want to play for this city. Like, I know what it'll feel like if we won here. It just sucked because I had so much popping up from injuries to, dealing with the fires back home. And my house is in the thick of that, family situations and going on that I had to kind of man up on. It was just so much pulling me that it was hard to kind of be all in focused on certain nights.
So
by the way, I have not heard any of this audio.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I was watching the replay of that show last night, and yeah, I mean, you didn't even that didn't get reported a lot. Like, obviously, the injury stuff, but the fact that he was part of those fires out in LA, I mean, that makes me feel for the guy a little bit too. I mean, he has a house out there. That was a big deal going on during the season. So there's more than meets the eye, especially with athletes as well. So I thought that was interesting that he opened up about that, Mike.
Not only that, I mean, the passion in his voice of man, because I watched have you watched the Clubhouse yet, the Red Sox thing?
I'm in the midst of it. I've watched 2 episodes. I'm 2 episodes in on it.
All right, so the story about Brian Bayo, him being separated from his family, those are things you just never really think about. And he's like, listen, I haven't seen my son in months, since February. Like, those things, the human side of why you might be struggling a little bit. The fires. We didn't even think about that with Paul George when that was going on. Listen, I'm going to go in the next season with a complete open mind. Like, these guys get hurt. It's frustrating. And then we label them as injury prone. I can't trust them. And all of that is fair. But right now, what I have in front of me is a team that needs those guys to be healthy. And I said earlier today, this is why I'm keeping Joel Embiid. If I trade Joel Embiid, I'm not getting fair market value. And all that will do is make my team mediocre. If you trade Joel Embiid, just imagine when you traded Charles Barkley. You got back Jeff Hornacek, Tim Perry, and Andrew Lang. If you get that level of return, the Sixers will be a team that wins 42 games. You're going to be stuck in the middle, and then you're going to be perpetually on the hamster wheel of mediocrity. At least if you have Embiid, your 2 choices are you could be a 50-plus win team and make a playoff run and possibly be a champ, or Embiid gets hurt and you lose 59 games and at least you prosper by getting a pick. I will take being a 59-loss team over a 42-win team.
Yeah, and going back to the PG thing, you don't think about some of that stuff. So I'm with you. I'm going in with an open mind this year. And with Embiid, the Embiid trade thing, it's just fascinating to me. Why on earth would you trade Joel Embiid right now? You're so right. You're not going to get fair value for him right now. That's not going to happen. You're probably not going to get fair value for Paul George. You can't really trade him either. You're stuck with this team no matter what. You're just stuck here. You're not gonna go anywhere if you trade those guys. Your best shot is with them at the moment, and you have the third overall pick, so you're gonna get an impact player for the future anyway. So if they even get hurt again, you might be in the same position to go back and get another pick at some point down the line. You have these guys for the next 3 years. You're stuck with them. You have them. You're not going to trade them. So this is the core for the next couple of years. Whether you like it or not, this is who the Sixers are.
Well, it's a domino. It's a double. It's a catch. It's your best shot and your worst shot.
Yeah.
Because at least your worst shot makes you bad enough to be in the lottery. I don't want to return for Embiid where I'm getting 3 mediocre players that are just good enough to make me the 10 seed.
Right. And now I'm thinking about, I don't know if they have their pick next year. That one might have been traded. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
No, I think they
have
I'm
next year.
pretty sure the Sixers have, I got to look that up.
26, they don't have 27 or something like that. There's 1 year, I know there's a year or two in there that they don't have a first-round pick because they moved off of it. It was one of the trades, whatever, the million trades that they've made.
Yeah, I think Brooklyn has one of their picks coming up. But
yes,
I'm not 100% sure because I did see somewhere that the Sixers are one of the teams. Here we go. This year, they have the 3rd pick. In 2026, they do not have a first-round pick.
Okay, gotcha. So they don't have one until 27, I believe, because you can't get rid of back-to-back years.
No, they do not have another first-round pick until 2028. They have 2. They have 2 in 2028.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's how it worked out. Listen, I mean, it's all about health. If they can stay healthy, they have a shot. If they don't, we know what's going to happen. They will be a 40 or less win team, and they won't be going anywhere.
Well, next year, so by the way, next year they don't have their pick because they kept it this year. So now next year's pick goes to Oklahoma City. In 2027, it goes to Brooklyn. I think that is part of the Ben Simmons trade.
Gotcha. All right. There it is. There's the Nuggets for today. Rick Tocchet, by the way, I saw Schweiner's putting out old pictures. Tocchet's back, flyers. There was an interesting, seeing Schweiner with the mullets. Very interesting, to say the least. The pictures he's putting out on social media. But
I've seen that picture. This Saturday was his 10-year anniversary. I've seen that picture for 10 years.
That's the second time I've seen that picture.
I mean, he sends me that picture as if I've never seen it before.
It's really for him, honestly. It's on the Schweiner. He thinks he looks good in there. So I think that's why he's really posted it. He's like, look at me. Look how good I looked when I was younger. I mean,
I wish I had it up here. I put it on I wish I had it up here. I put it up on the screen. I'll tell you what I really think he looks like.
All right, Mike. Boy, I guess 4-pack of nuggets. Real quick nugget there.
All right. There you go. They're brought to you by the Hub, gear that works as hard as you do. See you, man.
All right. I'll talk to you, Mike.
All right. Nuggets are back again tomorrow here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. And don't forget, we are on the Twitter X platform with video and on the YouTube platform with video at Mike Gill Show. You can subscribe. We got a big viewing audience today. Thanks to everybody checking us out there. Don't forget, you can listen on the free mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. A lot of people checking in on their phones, listening there as well. 5 o'clock hour. Wow, we got all the Eagles games are released. The whole schedule's out. Phillies win game 1. Phillies lineup is out. Nick Nurse, by the way, if you missed my conversation with Nick Nurse, we will replay that interview tonight at 5:30 on the Sports Bash. Plus, Rick Tocchet is the new Flyers head coach. A lot happening on a Wednesday show. 5 o'clock, driving you home. A little wet and rainy out there. Phils win game 1. 2-1. They beat the St. Louis Cardinals. Jordan Romano slams the door shut. He gets a strike out the side save in the 9th. Kirkering with the hold. Win goes to Luzardo. 2-1 Phils. They beat the Cardinals. Game 2 tonight. Aaron Nola. The Nola coaster. I should have come back to Red Hot Chili Peppers roller coaster. Nola coaster. Who else did that song? Somebody else do the roller coaster song? No. Yeah? Coming up, we've got, if you missed my conversation with Nick Nurse from yesterday's show, we will replay that in its entirety tonight at 5:30 right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We got Ryer Sy coming up. I'm sighing the NFL schedule coming out. I'll tell you that much. I don't want the schedule to come out in little bits and pieces like this unless it's formatic. Unless you give me a format of games out, Monday night games, Thursday night games, Sunday night games, holiday games, and special games, and then the schedule comes out. But I'm sighing at the fact that the whole Eagles schedule is already out. You're ruining the surprise for tonight. Now, I'm not watching the schedule release show tonight, but I would like to have it all compartmentalized, all in a little nice box, all kind of, set up there and, breaking it all down. Now, tomorrow at 5 o'clock, right here on the Sports Bash, Sal Palantonio will be here to break down the Eagles' schedule. So we'll do one segment of Ryer Sy today and a late segment of Ryer Sy tomorrow. I am sighing at the schedule already being released and all the leaks. I don't want the leaks. I don't want the releases. I want that to be in a vault. I want that to be steadfast. I want to wait until tonight and have it all released.
Doesn't make sense. Why is it always leaked?
Who's releasing these? Who feels the need to say, hey, buddy, there's a Thursday night game. Why? Why do you have to do that?
Do you think they say it like that too? Because I do. It's like whisper down the lane. But I think the NFL, that's how they want it.
I don't know. And I don't think the NFL does want it like that. They got all these shows tonight. They're doing all these release shows. There's one on NFL Network. ESPN's got one. Westwood one. Everybody's got a release show. They don't want the games already out there. Although Mosher brought up a good point earlier in that idiots like us that are on social media all day, there's people who have regular lives and aren't on social media all day. They don't know who the Eagles are playing in the whole schedule like we do.
Yes. But do you think we're the majority or the minority? Not just media members, like the overall Eagles fan base, let's say. I would say majority is on social media and knows about the leaks.
I don't know. Do you think Sixers Twitter is real life?
Yes. I live and die in it.
Yeah, well, I have one Jamoke. Every single time I tweet something about the Sixers, he has an aneurysm about the fact that, holy mackerel, we disagree. I think this and he thinks that. It's like, dude, we disagree. You've been tweeting at me for 5 years. I get it. We don't agree. This isn't a shock, dude. Right. I can't imagine that's real life.
No, it's definitely not real life. It's not.
And I just like to play along. I almost feel bad sometimes, so I just play along and I'll just appease you. But I feel like, dude, really, you care that much about the fact that I think this way and we disagree? That is something that bothers you that much? I like the fact that things that I say bother you that much that you waste time out of your day to hit me up. Because I certainly am not taking time out of my day to find you and say, hey, buddy, you were wrong.
I barely go on unless I'm posting something, I'm not scrolling through social media at all. I can't remember the last time I've liked a post. Let alone commented on one. But I think people just see anything Daryl Morey related, and they just have this automatic response of, oh, I hate Morey. And it's like, dude, did you even listen to what we talked about?
I don't understand. I figure there's this section of NBA fans that for whatever reason just do not like him. And I can't figure out, like, why. What is it about Morey that you're like that makes him unlikable?
It's a good question. I think he comes off nerdy. That's not a good answer, but he has like this nerdy analytics vibe to him. And I know there was something big that happened in Houston. Not big enough because I can't remember it. But I know something went down where it shifted his perception.
Oh,
maybe.
he had the thing with China, I think. He said something about something to that effect. But that that kind of stuff. I mean, if that is something that changes your opinion. But that being said, like I'm saying, people think that he is the most overrated guy, and I'm like, overrated to what? Like, again, he hasn't won a championship, but if that's what we're judging people on, then everybody's awful. Like, he has one losing season in his entire executive career. One. This year was his only losing season ever. And people are like, he's awful. I'm like, how do you never have a losing season and then be deemed overrated and awful? I don't understand that. You might say he's not one of the elites in the game. I can agree with that. I said the other day, he's a very good NBA general manager. And someone's like, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm like, the guy's never had a losing season ever. He's been to two Western Conference Finals. He happened to lose to the greatest team in the history of the NBA, potentially. Oh, yeah, that makes him lousy.
I think I can't agree with even people saying he's not elite, but that's a whole nother level to this.
I wouldn't put him in an elite category because, yes, he has not won a champion. He has not won a title. He has not built.
I don't think that's fair, though, because, and I know that's how we measure success, and I am the king of that, but that's more with players and coaches, don't you think? Like, if you look at what the GM does as far as cap space, moving and impacting the cap, trades, drafting, everything, coaching hires, you look across the board, he has always hit home runs, A+. I mean, I don't know what else he could do.
Well, for me to be like an elite, like one of the elites of the elite, you win. Like Sam Presti, by the way, he has never won a championship. So is he an elite GM? I mean, I really would like Sam Presti to be the guy running my team. I think what Presti has done that separates him is he has nailed draft picks. He has traded, made trades, torn teams down, built them back up by nailing draft picks. I think the one thing that hurt the Sixers, but not Morey. What Morey has done really well that I don't think people give him enough credit for is he has nailed the draft. When the Sixers were picking 21st and you get Tyrese Maxey, when you're picking 16th, you end up with Jared McCain. When you're picking in the second round and you get guys who are in your rotation, now you're starting to build a roster with some depth into it. Where he has made some mistakes with this team is the Embiid contract, the George contract, and they're easy to rip right now. And everybody should be ripping those things. They blew up in your face. But the peripheral things that he has done with this particular team, I think people are so fixated on the big. And look, that's what it is. It's the two big decisions that he made that blew up in their face.
Yeah, it's just, it's a lazy outlook and opinion. That's how I look at it. Like, it's just, okay, you're going to look at it with hindsight and say, you shouldn't have signed Embiid. And I'm an Embiid critic at this point. I mean, I think I'm categorized as an Embiid critic. I'm not saying that was a bad decision. And it's more on Josh Harris, honestly.
Well, listen, I think people are just tired of the Embiid thing. They're tired. You've said it many times. Like, okay, you just can't trust them. You're tired of it. This is why I said I will keep Embiid for this reason, okay? And this might be wild, but this year, because Embiid got hurt, the result of him being injured is you suck so bad that you got a lottery pick. That's the difference between having Embiid and not. If you trade Embiid, the return you get for him will not be fair market value, and all it will do is get you stuck right back in the middle. You will be right back in the 10, and now people would say, well, they haven't got out of the second round. You can say they've been in the middle. They haven't got out of the second round, yada, yada, yada. But those teams at least were championship contending teams. They were not.
I can't agree with that, though. I sigh at that. I had the sigh ready, man. I was getting it warmed up while you were going on. I mean, we can't say that.
Why do you sigh at that? Give me a.
Because you can't sit here and say that they're championship contending teams just because they had a 50-win regular season. They were never championship contending teams because Joel Embiid could never stay on the floor. Joel Embiid could never be available and ready to show us his legacy and show us his prowess on the big stage, i.e. Jalen Brunson. Joel Embiid's never shown us anything ever that he can win and carry a team ever.
Yeah,
so
well,
I can't say I want
you're right about that, but a lot of it is the expectations at the beginning of the year, and when they got to the playoffs, you thought, hey, they're the number 1 seed. They can make it to the NBA Finals. They're the number 2 seed. They can, like, those teams you felt could make it. Now, they disappointed you when they ended up losing. But like I said, with the teams that are losing right now, like, yeah, Boston loses Tatum. But if they ended up losing this series with a healthy Tatum, are we going to sit here and say because they got knocked out in the second round, they weren't good enough to win a title? Of course they were.
Well, they're the defending champs, so they bought themselves slack.
Give me another team. If Oklahoma City gets knocked out by Denver, are we going to sit here and say Oklahoma City isn't good enough to win a title? Of course they are.
No, of course not, but they're not at that level yet. Like there's always – I know I'm coming up with rebuttals that can be seen as excuses, but no, I think it's just each circumstance is unique is really the best way to answer it, right? It's different with every circumstance. Some guys are in the early category of their careers where you say, all right, we're not ready to put them in the.
And I think the Sixers were in the early Embiid Simmons era. I think they were a little too young to be able to win. Are you telling me then the Embiid Butler team that if they got out of the second round, that team wasn't good enough to win a title?
I don't know, man. Listen, they didn't get out of the second round. On paper, yes, they were. That's my answer.
That's what I'm saying. So just because you get knocked out in the second round doesn't mean that if you would have advanced in that series that you could have ended up winning the title.
Correct. That statement is correct. But my point is, at this point, after what we've seen now with Joel Embiid, I don't believe he can be that guy. He was never that guy in that second round series loss. So it's like, okay, let's say Kawhi, that quadruple doink rolls out and the Sixers win that game. Okay, is Joel Embiid all of a sudden going to perform for 2 more playoff rounds? I don't know. I can't bet on that to say yes.
It's a fair question because of his health history.
Right. And I've never watched a playoff series in the Joel Embiid's career where I'm like, wow, man. Wow, this dude's all over the court. He's playing 44 minutes, 3 straight games. He willed this team to a key victory. It's never happened. I've never seen it.
No, you're right. I mean, he has never been the guy in a playoff series where every single night for the whole 6 games, 7 games, you're like, this guy left it all out there and they won because of it. Because every time they've been to the playoffs with him, he has essentially had something wrong with him.
Yeah, and so fine. If you don't want to put that on him necessarily, where you say it's just unfortunate series of events, okay, fine, but that's still the reality of life with Joel Embiid. That's my overall take on it, right? Let me ask this. If the Sixers run this team back that they had this previous season, Joel Embiid, I'll give him 70 games played, which he's never done. He plays 70 games. Do you think that they're coming out of the East?
By the way, I will say, in Joel's quote-unquote defense, last year against the Knicks, he averaged 33 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. I mean, it's not like he sucked.
But that's the illusion of him. That's the frustrating part with him is he's a stat sheet filler. He can still fill it up.
I will say there's a lot of playoff series where his numbers have been way off, down from his season averages. The Knicks series last year was not one of them. He had the series against the Hawks where in Game 7 he did not have a great game that game, but Ben Simmons was just horrendous in that series. In that series, he averaged 31 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists in that series against the Hawks. Ben Simmons was historically awful in that series.
I'm with you. And all of these reasons and examples are more than fair, but there's still just a part of me, and maybe I'm being unfair with this, where it's like,
hey, any criticism to Joel is fair. They have not won with him, so he gets the criticism. He's the best player. But I don't think that it is impossible for them to say, hey, just because we got out of the second round, we haven't been good enough. I think if some of these second rounds, if they've advanced, that they are good. They have had teams that are good enough. They just happen to lose in the second round. I think people look at the second round as, well, you're no better than you were when you had Andre Iguodala and those teams. My point is The Andre Iguodala teams were not good enough to win titles. They could not have won titles with those teams. I think the Sixers teams had the talent to win. They just, for whatever reasons, did not.
You may be right, but here's the big problem. If we put a poll question out there to Sixers fans, the city of Philly, and say, if we run back last year's team, heck, I'll even throw in Ace Bailey, whatever.
Anything you run with a Sixer in it is going to be negative right now.
But that's the point. And even if we can magically take the negativity out, and they're all objectively looking at it based off what they've seen as fans in the past 4 or 5 years, I would say, if we poll them and say, do you think this team is a title contender? Would you be more surprised if they made the championship or lost in the first round? I would say 80% would be more surprised if they made the finals.
I agree. And this is like a Seinfeld episode, which, by the way, on this day 27 years ago was the season finale of the series finale of Seinfeld. But it goes back to the beginning of the poll question is Sixers Twitter is not real life. Those people are fanatically against the Sixers.
But I'm saying everyone, even real life people. I would say 75 to 80% of the fans would be on this side of the fence. Like, no, we don't believe that we have any confidence that we can get there with Joel Embiid leading this team.
I would tend to agree with you. I would tend to agree with you. Like I said the other day, if I told you, because people are so down on this team, now they have the third pick in the draft, it gives you a little bit of excitement, I guess. But if I told you, you gave the number that I gave. If I said Joel Embiid and Paul George both played 70 games next year, are they seeded 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 play-in game? What do you think?
If they both play 70 games, then I would say Joel Embiid is an MVP candidate, a top 5 player in the league in the regular season. They should be a top 3 team in the East.
I would agree.
But I don't know. Now, if you take it to the next level and say, all right, Rye, what's your prediction on how far they go? I'm not picking past the second round. I can't.
Well, Boston's going to be they're going to be compromised next year with the Tatum thing. I don't know that he'll be back and ready to play by when. He might come back at some point. I don't know if he makes an impact for them all season long. So I think Boston takes a step back. I don't know. Do you like Indiana as like this unbeatable team that is like, wow, Indiana's is a giant now?
No, they're not a giant, but they've shown me a lot. They've shown me a lot. Halliburton's impressed the heck out of me. Siakam, he is officially a bona fide playoff dude. He's just, his game and style of play translates. They're a tough out. Pacers, I would put them above the Sixers. I would.
Right now, yeah, they're tough.
Yeah.
I mean, they're tough, but I don't look at them as like Oklahoma City good. And I know it's funny to say that because Oklahoma City, now they're up 3-2. They're probably, they're in a good spot to beat Denver. But I think Oklahoma City's just got more talent, like depth-wise. Minnesota, I think, right now I think the NBA is in flux of the league is starting to kind of switch over from the LeBron, Steph Curry, Durant.
Yeah, they have who's the face question, and it's a legit question. And as we're saying this, I want to ask you this. I'm curious what you think. Does the result of the Eastern Conference playoffs and how it's panned out so far, doesn't that make you more frustrated as a Sixers fan? Because it's like Halliburton and Brunson again. It's not that deep of a field right now.
I agree. Well, Brunson to me has elevated himself to that like top 5 level. He is now with like Cade Cunningham, with Anthony Edwards, with SGA, with Brunson's in there. Like those guys now are the next stars of the league, but they're not the definitive like guys yet because you still have LeBron, like Luka. He's kind of in there too. But you're now starting to slowly see those teams with those guys push the old guys out.
Yeah, Ant-Man, Edwards, SGA with OKC. Jokic is still Jokic in Denver.
Yeah, and Jokic, Jokic is in the Embiid area where those guys are like stuck in the middle. They're not on the LeBron, Durant, Curry side. They're not on the Ant Edwards, so they're holding on for dear life in the middle like, hey, Let us hold on for a couple of years here, and that's where the Sixers have to make the decision. He's still in his early 30s. Can we squeeze a year out of him where he can carry us? Because he's never done it. Do we get one of those?
Can you get one of those from Joel? Can you get one or two more from Jokic if you're looking at it from that perspective out there?
Dude,
and
that shot Jokic made last night was bonkers.
Dude,
now, I know they lost the game, but geez almighty. I mean, he's pirouetting off 1 foot and like sky hooks a three and swishes it. I said, you've got to be kidding me. That game was wild last night. I have started to settle into these games now that we're at this stage of the playoffs. But, it's unfortunate with Tatum. I hate to see that happen. Listen, I love the fact, though, that the Sixers are going to have this third pick. I know yesterday we went back and forth a little bit. I sat down more. I had Kevin Pelton on after you were on yesterday. Mm-hmm. He gave me, he said something funny. Do we have that line, Josh? I don't know if we cut that audio. Where Pelton said, Morey, hold on, he's getting the bite here. He'll play it for you. Here's what Kevin Pelton said right when we were getting off the phone yesterday. Here we go.
I would say not a lot of teams will be calling the Sixers because they won't need to because the Sixers will proactively be making them.
Nice. Yeah.
Our team's going to call the Sixers for pick 3. He said they won't have to because Morey is going to be all picking up. And that's why you want Daryl Morey. It's like Howie Roseman. Like when you have Morey, you have a Roseman. It's like a guy who will always make every phone call and leave no stone unturned. Now, obviously Roseman, but there was a time where people hated Roseman and wanted him out. Why? He was a nerdy guy. That's, to me, is Morey. One of these years, I think he's going to hit it, and people are going to say, man, all those years that he won, and I wanted him gone, and look what ended up happening.
It's exciting, right? Like, on the flip side, fans hate when they're begging and screaming and yelling at their GM in front offices, like, please make a trade. You haven't made a trade in 10 years. Daryl Morey makes big headline trades all the time. It's fun, man.
Speaking of trades, this is what Kevin Pelton told us yesterday about the Spurs. Take a listen.
San Antonio is also in an interesting spot. They have Stephon Castle is the reigning rookie of the year, is someone who, it's to be determined exactly what his best NBA role is, but probably going to include some ball handling. You just traded for De'Aaron Fox, and now I think Dylan Harper from Rutgers is the consensus number 2 prospect, is another guy who, thrives with the ball in his hands. So I'm interested to see how they handle it, or whether that's, a pick that could potentially be on the move with the Spurs.
That's an interesting whole. I was talking about this yesterday before he came on. I said, the Spurs got De'Aaron Fox, Castle. I mean, they've added like 3 or 4 guards on that team. Do they want to add another guard to that mix? Would they be open for business? And would Morey want to flip flop with them? So I think that adds some more intrigue as well.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he said exactly what I said to you yesterday about Dylan Harper. He's a guy that likes the ball in his hands. That's his style. And I was thinking maybe they get weird and pick Ace Bailey, or like maybe they go a different route because of what he just outlined, and that opens things up. Who knows?
All right, well, that's Ryer Saturday. Good back and forth on that. I know we got to have more. We got the Nick Nurse. I had Nick on yesterday. Did you get a chance to hear any of that? If anything stood out, I know a lot of people have been aggregating the some of the bites. The one thing he said about Joel, I think. Maybe opened some eyes where he said, hey, Joel decided to kind of shut it down. And, I think that was something, for some reason, he said something about, we all know who's going to go number 1. We have guys we like. That guy will go at number 2, and then we'll get the guy that we like. And people took that as that they're going to take Ace Bailey. I don't read it that way at all. I think he's saying, look, we all know who's going 1. We like a couple guys. Whoever they get at 2, we aren't going to be able to take. We'll take the guy we like at 3. That's how I took it, but that was kind of that one got aggregated all over the place.
Yeah, I think we all just have to remind ourselves Nick Nurse is in the baby seat in the 3rd row of the car. Daryl Morey's driving the bus.
Well, but I got some perspective of him as the coach, how he sees the team a little differently. Like he said he thinks Maxey and McCain can play together. Morey said he thought that they need Embiid for those 2 guys to be able to be on the floor together because they need that rim protector.
Yeah, it is interesting. I wonder how they work together, right? Yeah. And who wins those arguments if they disagree, and what's that impact and everything. But yeah, it's interesting, man. And Nurse, I know we're out of time, but Nurse is another one who I think gets wildly disrespected in this town. I see him as a top 3 to 5 coach on the planet.
Well, as Maury said, give him the horses, and he'll lead them
Yeah.
to where you need to go. We'll see if they can get the horses. The NBA draft, June 25th and 26th, right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, man, thanks.
Later.
All right, we'll do it again tomorrow. We got the Nick Nurse conversation is coming up next. If you missed my conversation with Sixers head coach Nick Nurse, that is next here on the Sports Bash. Head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, Nick Nurse, is here. Coach, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. Much better after last night.
Was there a moment where you were freaked out like all the rest of us when the broadcast incorrectly pointed out that you lost the pick?
There was a few moments because I did hear that, and I was trying to look at the board and figure out how that could be, and me and Elton Brand both were like, wait a minute, we're out? No, we're not out, huh? And then by the time we were getting there, we were back in. He corrected himself. So it was a little wild, though, a little bit of a wild night in the NBA in general, and that just added to it.
It was
for us.
I figure with Daryl sitting at that table, he's a numbers guy. He probably said, no, they're wrong. Did he know instantaneously they were wrong?
He was not buying that line that he I'm not sure he heard it because he was kind of doing all his calculations while the picks were going, but Elton Brand and I heard it for sure, and Daryl was like, oh, I did kind of hear it, but I knew it wasn't right, so I didn't really he said he didn't really react to it. So there you go.
Well, Coach, you are coaching the team and obviously going through a really rough year. He is running the team. At what point of this season did you as the coach realize this is just not going our way, and you turn into maybe like evaluation mode of, hey, what guys can help me moving forward here?
Yeah, I don't know the exact, pinpoint of when it was, but the rough general, the trade deadline comes and goes, and we make another little run to get some guys back healthy, and we just started losing more guys, and Joel didn't, who decided he wasn't going to play the rest of the year, and Tyrese got hurt. At that point, you were kind of like, this is not our year. It just isn't. And then it was really quickly move into, let's get these other guys evaluated and let's get them out there and let's see if we can build them and develop them and see what happens.
Through that evaluation, did you find guys that surprised you that you might now think are a part of moving forward?
I think we did. Yeah, I think that we certainly had a great chance to evaluate them. Like, I don't think this chance would have presented itself for Bona, Justin Edwards. Obviously, we got a pretty decent quick look at McCain early. Quentin Grimes got a great chance to develop and evaluate himself as well. So I think we certainly found those three guys that we would plan on helping us next year for sure.
Nick Nurse is on with me here. You mentioned McCain. You did get a short burst to him, but not a lot together with Maxey. You're the coach. How do you see those two? I know some people are, I don't know if they can play together. I think Daryl's even kind of questioned whether those two can play together. You coach them, though. Do you think those two guys can play a lot of minutes together?
Yeah, I certainly do. I think that they're similar. But they're I think at the beginning, in my mind anyway, I would have said, Tyrese is our point guard when he's on the floor, and Jared's our two guard when he's on the floor, if they're on the floor together. But now I think that we know we need to get Tyrese off the ball some, just to let him display the shooting aspect of his game that he can do, and just to get him just some rest off the ball, really, just some time. And Jared, we tried to put him on the ball to see what kind of point guard he was. And obviously he played a lot of point guard in his younger years. And I really think they kind of coexist as both the one and the two, just kind of sharing both positions. And I think they have assets at both of them. And I think it's necessary that we have them both play each position. Yeah.
Talking with Nick Nurse, McCain was a joy to watch, by the way. He was a guy that, in a year that was just like, there was so much excitement for this season. He was a joy. In your mind, you never got a chance to really see Tyrese, Paul, and Joel. Is that something that you think still can work?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we got to look at it nearly in any capacity that we wanted to. There's maybe a handful of games, and I'm not sure any of them were that healthy in those games, to be honest. So, definitely, I think the 1-3-5 kind of covers the roster, the lineup there, covers small, big, middle. Loved some of the things that George brought, especially defensively last year. I think he's a really good player. I think he's really smart. I think that, maybe he doesn't score as much as he used to back in his prime, but he's still a really good shooter. He can get shots off because of his 6'9" frame. And I think we all know what Joel and Tyrese can do, especially together.
Yeah, and obviously the tough part of it is everybody says, well, Joel hasn't been able to be healthy. George hasn't been able to be healthy. Everybody seems to think, yeah, they're healthy. You had Kawhi that year, and you kind of managed him through that in Toronto. Is there any similarities with what you're seeing here with Joel?
Well, hopefully this year there will be. I mean, I think that's the thing everybody, needs to remember. Joel, he suffered a serious injury. He was playing about I would say his best basketball of his career. Last year when this injury happened, he was really playing great. And just hasn't been able to quite be the same since. He did have some great playoff games against the Knicks. Obviously played in the Olympics, but I think we're on a road to getting him back to a little more, getting back to who he is. With this whole long off season and full summer, rehab and strengthening and conditioning and all those things, and then we can get ourselves back on the right track.
All right, we're spending some time with Nick Nurse here, kind enough to join us. You saw the ping pong balls. They bounced your way. It was a little scary for a minute there. They fixed it, and then you're in the top 4, and then they pick you at number 3. It's always like 3 is the spot where it's like everybody kind of knows number 1, and then they think they know number 2, and then there's 3. Do you look at your roster right now and say, man, there's a bunch of guys that could really help this roster?
Well, there's some for sure. We only get one pick, so we just got to make sure we find one that can really help the roster.
Now, you don't have to tell us. You don't have to tell us, Coach. But was there a guy in your mind initially where like, gosh, I hope we get this player? If it's not 1 or 2, when you landed at 3.
No, but I think there's a couple in my mind.
Okay.
I think there's certainly a couple in my mind that are on there now that we're at 3 is when you can really dial in. It's nice that you don't, there's probably only one person, they all know who's going number 1. And then we only got one team that can pick one of the 2 other guys that we want. So if we have a couple, we're in good shape, I think. So, that being said, I just want, most talent, want somebody that competes to win, toughness, work, somebody understands that this is a grind and a job, and you got a lot of time to get better and a lot of time in the gym and a good teammate, man. We want somebody that wants to compete to win and be part of a great organization.
It's been a lot of good number 3 picks, by the way. Joel, Bradley Beal, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic. You've heard a couple of those guys. They're all pretty good. If you get an impact player like that, do you look at, Coach? Obviously, you say, yeah, I want to draft a guy and I want him to compete and be an impact right away. Did you McCain impact he did? I probably not, right?
I didn't think so. No, I think that he surprised everybody, but did it pretty quickly. I mean, I would say after getting to camp, it was unbelievable the confidence he showed in training camp. I would say on paper probably didn't have him in the rotation to start the year. But he just earned it and went after it and did it. So that's
a lot of that.
You have the confidence, man. Confidence and work ethic take you a long way when you got the skill, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But a lot of that is he got an opportunity due to some injuries. Does that now give you more confidence to maybe say, I'm going to give a longer leash to this guy this year because maybe what I see in camp isn't enough? I got to get you some playing time, or is that not how it works?
No, I think it's. We'll see how it all shakes out, but I think that in this slot in this pick, you're going to get a player that needs to play and needs minutes and needs reps, and you just got to grow them as fast as you can, especially on a team like ours.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate it. Last night was a wild ride for everybody. You guys got that pick. Was there a lot of trepidation that you might have lost that pick? Like, was that even thought about, or were you just trying to say, I don't even want to go down that road?
I tell you what, man, it was pretty nervous, man. It's like it was such high stakes. It wasn't like it was.
You go through a
6
59 loss season
it
and don't
6
get
or
that
10
pick,
or 9 or 8. It was six inside 6 or nothing.
Yeah,
that's a pretty high stake thing. So yeah, we were really pulling that it would come out our way, and I'm glad it did. I think it. Again, it's a tremendous positive energy boost for us and everybody around, and let's take it and go.
You get down the shore at all? You get down to the beach?
Haven't been yet, but I will.
All right. Well, get down to shore. Let us know. We'll hope to catch up with you soon. And congratulations on getting pick 3, and let's get the fan base back into this thing, all right?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, Nick Nurse, everybody. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. So, a lot there. McCain, Maxey, that stuff stands out to me big time in what he wants to do with those two guys. Obviously, the Embiid stuff there. Your thoughts, 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. Give us your thoughts on what you heard from Nick Nurse there that stands out. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Brought to you by Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, installation. Call 609-390-3907. Online, broadleaf.net. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash. We had a busy day today, man. All the Nick Nurse comments from yesterday, the Sixers draft lottery. The full Eagles schedule is announced. Rick Tocchet is the new Flyers head coach. The Phillies won a baseball game today. They play again tonight. Basically, it's a 4-for-4 kind of day. All 4 teams made news today. Sixers draft lottery. Eagles have a schedule. Rick Tocchet's the new Flyers coach, and the Phillies won a game today. How about it? All right. What else? We did Stump the Sports Geek. By the way, did we ever announce the winner? I forgot. We had a winner. We had one guy.
One guy guessed 9.
So one guy guessed 9. So Josh, today, the category was NBA draft. He got 9 out of 10.
So if we go off of averages, I got 3 right the first week, 9 the second week. So that means next week people should guess 6 because that's the average.
Go with the mean.
Exactly.
So who was the winner?
Pearson in Woodbine.
He was the only guy who said you would get 9 out of 10.
Now, there was one person who guessed 11, but I think that person wasn't following the instructions very well.
Well, Pearson, congratulations. You got a pair of tickets to see Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. We'll play Stump the Sports Geek again next week on the Sports Bash. We'll see what the category is next week.
I'm intrigued now because I like the fact that you're making it thematic. So now I'm going to try to think before next week, what is Mike Gill going to pick next week? I'll probably be wrong, but still I like to try to guess.
Got Knicks and Celtics tonight on 97.3 ESPN.
Coverage begins at 7 p.m.
I think that series is over. Although it feels like they're down and out. Everybody's counting out Boston. They don't have Tatum, and that's when they end up catching you.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You need a big effort from Drew Holiday tonight.
Derek White will be the guy tonight.
You think Derek White?
I've always been a big Derek White fan, but I don't know if he's got it in him tonight. We'll see. All right, Sports Bash Live. By the way, the Nick Nurse conversation there was the one thing that he mentioned in that during the lottery, they could hear what Nagandi said, but he said him and Elton heard it, but Maury was so locked in that he did not hear it.
Yeah, Maury's supercomputer was too locked into the numbers that he wasn't listening to anybody.
All right, we'll close out the show with the Bet365 play of the day next.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
How did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you. All of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Malcolm is a listening learner. So he checks with Babbel's speech recognition to be
Precio.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times?
You're playing the lute. Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
All right, getting ready to get out of here tonight. Got the Bet365 play of the day. How'd we do last night?
Well, Mike, thanks to the Cavs going 9 for 35 from 3 last night, you couldn't hit the over, but you are still 163, 110, and 1. So I think you're still doing pretty good.
163, 110, and 1. Yeah, I'll take that. 53 games over 500 for the people out there.
Really quick, what did you think of the only guy showing up for Cleveland last night was Donovan Mitchell?
Yeah, he left, came back. I mean,
the guy's playing on a busted up ankle, and he's still scoring. And he's looking around like, "Where's everybody else?"
that's why I look at like the Eastern Conference right now. That Cavaliers team, they remind me. Like a lot of people were comparing them to the Hawks team that won 60 games back in the Al Horford days. Remember them?
Yeah,
they were the 1 seed. They won 60-some games.
But those teams never had a superstar like Mitchell.
No, they didn't. But I don't think Mitchell is. You're winning the championship because he's your best player.
Maybe not, but he's better than all 5 of those Hawks stars.
No, he's better than the Hawks, but my point is they just didn't have they just don't have a number 1 player. Mitchell is like that next tier below.
He's like 1A.
Yeah, he's just a tier below the guy. He needs either someone above him or someone kind of like what the Celtics have with Tatum and Brown.
Right.
If you had Mitchell and somebody else.
Someone else like him.
Yeah. Tonight, I like the Celtics -4.5. Back in Boston, I think they'll kick and scream and shout, and 4.5. I like Boston tonight. And I like Minnesota to close that out, -10.5. The Warriors, I think that is over. I think the Warriors, as we know them, are done.
Just getting too old?
I mean, you lost Curry. Is he playing tonight?
I haven't seen him playing tonight.
I was saying, unless something's changed that I've said. I mean, I just think this. You got Jimmy Butler. You got Curry.
No, he's supposed to be able to come back for Game 5. If the Warriors don't win tonight, he can't.
Tonight is Game 5.
Oh, so let me double check, see what Shams said. Shams hasn't said anything about Curry all day. So usually I trust him.
I just see the Warriors. This could be it, as we know the Warriors. I mean, they already lost Clay. They've got Butler here. And if they get knocked out with this group, how many more runs do they really have as the Warriors as we know? So I like the Timberwolves tonight, -10.5 against the Warriors.
Shams is too busy at the draft combine to tweet about Curry.
All right.
Thanks for nothing.
Flyers have a new head coach. It's Rick Tocchet. Find out more about it. By the way, Tocchet has a press conference Friday morning. Good night.